Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. We've got a lot to cover. I'm going to talk in just a bit about the file released yesterday. We'll get to all of that. But I want to open today with Ilhan Omar, okay? You've seen the stories about Ilhan Omar, and the reason I'm so compelled to talk about this is there's one big question that nobody has asked about Ilhan Omar and this great wealth that she's accumulated. And everyone's been talking about it for 24 hours, maybe even 36 hours. And the one big question no one has asked, but I'm going to ask it. Now, here's the headline. Ilhan Omar said it's categorically false to call her a millionaire. However, her net worth has just reached $30 million, an increase of at least 3,500% in 1 year. When she first entered Congress 6 years ago, because when you run for office, you're in Congress, you have public disclosure, financial forms. Her net worth when she was first elected to Congress was negative $45,000, and now she's worth $30 million. So I've been listening to all of these people talk about it, and I saw Turley yesterday, Dr. Steve Turley, and he's going through this company and that company, and everybody's doing this. That's a bunch of gobbledygook, okay? The question to ask Ilhan Omar and those that are talking about this that no one is talking about is this. What did she do in exchange for the $30 million? It's exactly. One thing I learned in life is this. People don't just give you money. They expect something in return. And Ilhan Omar and her husband are not Mr. Monopoly like Donald Trump. They are not industrialists. They are not entrepreneurial. She is a public official. So how did Ilhan Omar go from a negative net worth of $45,000 to a net worth of $30 million 6 years later? How did her wealth grow by 3,500%? I've never even heard that percentage used in someone's net worth gain. How did her wealth increase by 3,500% in a single year? And the question is, what did she do to make her worth that money? All these different companies and everything you're hearing about, that's a bunch of nonsense, okay? She did something. She exchanged something in exchange for this $30 million. And all these different things that Steve Turley and everyone are talking about, that's just the cover, okay? That's the car wash at Breaking Bad. And, I remember this has happened more than once, but the first time I saw this happen with President Trump was in his first term. Okay, in President Trump's first term, he ordered a military strike on the Iranian general Solommani. And that's why the Iranians have been after him all these years, because he took out Solommani, right? So when he took out Solommani, it created a bit of a small scandal in Congress and in the mainstream media because he did not do something that presidents have historically done before a military strike. Remember what that was? It was inform Congress. Even though it's classified, members of Congress, many of them have upper-level classification. He didn't tell Congress. And at the time, by the way, when this came out, I talked about this at the time. So Pelosi and all these people in the media and the Democrats, they were very upset that he didn't inform Congress. Why do you think President Trump did not inform Congress before the airstrike that took out the Iranian general Solommani? And remember, Solommani, the Iranians, he was the organizer of almost all of the Islamic terrorism around the world at the time, Solommani. Iran still is, but Solommani was the head of the snake. Why did he not inform Congress? Well, I believe, and I talked about this at the time, so those of you who have been listening to me since then may remember, the reason that President Trump did not inform Congress about the Solommani strike is because of the squad. Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and the rest, he was afraid they'd give the information through their connections and it would get back to Iran and Solommani before the attack happened, which would do a couple things. Could make it just completely unsuccessful or endanger the U.S. operators involved in the strike, okay? So President Trump did not trust Congress, and I believe the squad in particular, he didn't trust them not to leak this to the Iranians and get to Solommani. He thinks they're spies. So the question, it's not that her wealth is increased by 3,500% in a year. It's not that she went from a negative net worth of $45,000 and 6 years later is worth $30 million. The question is, what did she do in exchange for that wealth? And the answer to that, that's where everything, that's the $50,000 question. If you're new to my program, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. This is the pre-show. We're not on the radio yet, but you are welcome to call in. Our number is toll-free. It's pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. So this is the story from the Free Beacon. Representative Ilhan Omar's personal fortune exploded to upwards of $30 million in 2024. The Minnesota Democrat disclosed just months after telling the press it is ridiculous and categorically false to say she is worth millions of dollars. Omar reported in her latest financial disclosures that she and her husband, a former political consultant, accumulated a net worth at the end of 2024 ranging from at least $6 million to $30 million. Their wealth is derived almost entirely from the value of the husband's ownership stake in two companies that together were worth no more than $51,000 at the end of 2023. The exact value of Omar's personal fortune at the end of 2024 is unclear. Lawmakers disclosed the value of their holdings and debts in ranges. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll get to some calls in a bit. Still, the figures in Omar's latest disclosures show that her and her husband's net worth skyrocketed by at least 3,500% in 1 year. This is the Free Beacon. I did tweet this story, Brian Craig Show on X. Omar's extraordinary accumulation of wealth in 2024 could raise uncomfortable questions for the Minnesota Democrat, who in February told Business Insiders that she has been the subject of a coordinated right-wing disinformation campaign that falsely claims she's worth millions of dollars, now which she was lying. Omar said any claim that she's worth more than a few thousand was ridiculous and categorically false. She also took to X, challenging her followers to maybe try checking my public financial statements. And you will see I barely have thousands, let alone millions. Omar and has her husband to thank for catapulting her to multimillionaire status in 2024. Her husband's California-based winery and venture capitalist firm achieved remarkable financial turnarounds in 2024. At the end of 23, Omar's husband's combined stake in both companies was worth no more than $51,000. The firms had less than $700 across all their bank accounts. And Ilhan Omar's husband and his business partner, who's a former DNC advisor, were saddled with lawsuits from investors claiming they defrauded them out of millions. But by the end of 24, Ilhan Omar's husband's combined stake in the two firms ballooned to anywhere between $6 and $30 million. He and his partner settled the lawsuits with cash settlements, so they paid him off. Ilhan Omar's husband's business activities have long been a thorn in Omar's side ever since they married in March 2020. They were both married to other people when they met. They began their affair when he served as a political consultant to her campaign, which paid his firm $2.9 million during the election cycle, but that was a fleeting arrangement. The financial ties between her campaign and her new husband's firm drew intense public scrutiny. He exited political consulting and teamed up with this other political guy to branch into a winery and venture capital industries. A winery. Give me a freaking break. And it goes on. So the question is, what did she do in exchange for her husband's company going from a value of $51,000 to $30 million? What did she do? Right? What did she do? I don't know. You don't know. We could speculate all day, but people don't just give you millions of dollars. Now, and they were in some financial trouble because they had all these lawsuits going on. So not only is their net worth $30 million, they had enough money to pay cash settlements to the people that were suing them. So they did something. And one of the things she's doing, if you notice the company's, the winery, give me a freaking break. I'd like to see that winery, wouldn't you? Maybe Benny Johnson can go visit the Ilhan Omar husband's winery. But I'd like to see that winery. I'd like to see what it does. I'd like to see the wine it produces on store shelves somewhere. Who's buying this wine? And this venture capitalist firm, the only capital it seems is their net worth. What are they investing in? What are these businesses, and what are the returns to skyrocket the company to such levels? You know, and like these people in Washington. Okay, like these people in Washington, it's always a relative, a husband, a son, a daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, a cousin, a brother, a sister, you know, like the Biden crime family. These people in government, they have family members that are out there doing all of this crime or all these deals. So they're removed from it. So they turn in their personal financial disclosures and they try to act like their money and their spouse's money is not the same thing. Give me a freaking break. Yeah. But whatever happened, Ilhan Omar did something in exchange for this. Whether it's legal or illegal, I don't know. But I know this. People don't give you money for nothing. You know, I was talking yesterday. I'd watched the Bill Maher interview with Woody Allen, Woody Allen's a real scumbucket, right? You know, he's had a couple of big scandals. And he was talking about his movies, how some of them have been hits and some of them have been box office bombs, but he says more of them have been financially successful than not. And Woody Allen, he says, if all of my movies bombed and they didn't make money, I wouldn't be able to get more money to make more movies. So, you know, people don't give you money for nothing. You've got to be able to make their money back, or they won't give you money. Right? And that was Woody Allen. And, you know, and that is true. You know, and one thing I've learned about the wealthy as I grow up, wealthy people don't throw money around. Most people that are wealthy because they're more responsible than I am or you are with their money. You know, there are people that are millionaires many times over that would fit the definition of what you or I might call a cheapskate. And that's why they're rich. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean they don't buy nice things, but they don't just throw their money around and give it away or waste it on things. So this $30 million net worth that Ilhan Omar has accumulated, I am here to tell you, I promise you, that rich people did not just feel, oh, she's such an inspiration, let's give her husband $30 million. That is not how it works. And I wouldn't say it's a vote in Congress because she's in the minority party, so she has no juice in the Congress. But what she did something for the money. That's it. And everyone's dancing all around this. Why don't they just say what it is? Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. And this is how you get rich. If you want to be, you know, if you're a Democrat, you get rich by getting elected to Congress. Look what Joe Biden did. You get elected to Congress, and then all of a sudden you're rich. People go to Congress. They're middle-class people, maybe even less, and the next thing you know, they're millionaires. These people spend their entire lives working in government, and they're millionaires many times over, 30 times over in the case of Ilhan Omar. Like Donald Trump, we know how he made his money. He was born into a family of wealth, millionaires that were involved in real estate development and such. And he made himself a billionaire by expanding the family business into New York and building high rises and doing high profile projects. Golf courses, golf memberships, buildings, renting office space, selling condominiums, television stardom with The Apprentice, the #1 show on NBC television. He made $250 million on that. He's probably making money on the reruns on Amazon, President Trump. Latest family venture is crypto. But you know how they made their money. You can point to the things like I just did and said, okay, this is how Donald Trump made his money. But Ilhan Omar, how did she make this $30 million? I would suspect she made it the same way that Joe Biden made himself a millionaire, right? Corrupt public officials doing favors or giving information, insider info, something. These people in Congress are very wealthy. Now, some of them are wealthy and they get in the Congress, and their wealth and connections get them in the Congress, or they're born into the nobility class like Liz Cheney. But someone like Ilhan Omar doesn't go from a negative net worth of $45,000 to $30 million without doing something in exchange for the money. That's it. And it's not her husband, because he was broke. So they're both rich now. That's how it works. And that's the question to ask. And that's the question to look into. Now, I'm a one-man band here. But, Benny Johnson travels around and does these things with, go to the winery. I'd like to see the Ilhan Omar husband winery. I want to see the winery. Is it a functioning winery? Are they producing grapes and wine? Do they have contracts to sell that wine? Can you order it in a restaurant? Is it for sale on the shelves somewhere? And there is some conflict about her Muslim background and being a Muslim and alcohol too, isn't it? You're not supposed to be drinking alcohol if you're Muslim. Am I wrong about that? So I'd like to see that. And this venture capitalist firm, I'd like to see what capital they ventured into some things, and what companies those were, and what business are they in, and how did it return such a profit so quick, where their net worth has skyrocketed by 3,500% in a single year. These are the questions. It's not just sitting around saying, well, this winery and this venture capitalist, and now it's worth this. This is corruption. This is political corruption. That's the way it is. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. In about 15 or 20 minutes, the radio show will start. I will recap some of this on the radio for the radio audience. I have a lot of things to cover, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. The number, if you call me right now, is pinned in the live chat. It's 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call, 888-465-2631. If you'd like to support my content, become a Patreon supporter. The link to my Patreon page is in the description of the video. If you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes and a lot of other content that I post nowhere else. There's a link in the description of the video. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sid, calling from Kentucky.
Okay.
So I'm listening to you on live, and you were talking about Ilhan Omar's winery and all those things, and how these Democrats might have made their money by being elected to Congress. And I didn't hear you mention Trump coin, brother.
I did. I said we know how. I did. I said we know how Trump made his money. I went through a whole thing: real estate, television, and I said most recently crypto.
The Trump coin, the meme coin he just did.
Yeah, I own some of that. Yeah, I own some of that. Yeah, we know how Trump made his money.
How's it doing? How's it doing now? Is it doing better now?
I haven't checked it in a few weeks, but I do hold it.
So
But we know. But does Ilhan Omar have some type of crypto? I mean, where did her 30 million? The meme coin you're talking, the Trump coin. People like me bought it and are holding it. Right? I know. That's okay.
You have to hold it because if you sold it, you would lose. So you have to hold it.
You don't have to do it. Okay.
You gotta hold.
Well, so what did Ilhan Omar do for this money?
I don't know. And
like I could go on. I could take out. Hold on a second. I could take out.
Like I don't.
I could take out. Excuse me.
This one, but I could disregard it on the other end.
Hold on. I could go.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican.
I could go into my. Excuse me. I'm speaking. Can you stop interrupting while I'm speaking? Okay. I could go on.
Let's do it. Let's do it together.
Well, I'm hosting the show. Okay. You've got to take turns talking. Okay. I could go on.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But you won't stop talking. I could go into my crypto wallet.
You won't say what you mean.
All right, thank you for your call. I could go in my crypto wallet right now and buy more Trump coin, and Trump would make some money. Where can I buy the Ilhan Omar wine? Right? Where can I buy the Ilhan Omar wine? From the Ilhan Omar winery. I can buy the Trump coin right now. Where can I buy the wine? I have a company. I'm looking for some venture capital to grow it. Will they invest in my company? You understand what I mean? There's a difference. And the difference is a big difference, isn't it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, man. No, it's not the same thing. You can go into any crypto wallet right now and buy the Trump coin. That's a tangible thing. I own it. And I bet you some of you own it too. But where's the Ilhan Omar wine? What are the companies that they ventured some capital in? What are those companies? And what do they do? And what do they produce? Or what services do they offer? You see the difference? You see the difference? So this is corrupt public official stuff here, like Biden, like the Clintons. Now the thing with Trump, like I say, we know how he made his money, all kinds of different ways. But this is sketch. Now, if you're new, I do always take calls, but you do have to take turns talking. Okay, we both can't talk at the same time, and you don't have to. You can call me whether you agree or disagree. I don't mind that at all. That's why I take calls. I don't have to take calls. I can sit here like all the other conservative influencers and just talk and preach. I don't mind being challenged. I don't mind being questioned. Sometimes even my MAGA brothers and sisters call in and question me. Like I was talking yesterday about the Rudy Giuliani accident, which I am very suspect of. I don't buy that it was just an accident like everybody else is. I did see Mayor Giuliani on his podcast yesterday wearing this body cast. You know, and some MAGA people called up and said, "No, you're wrong, Brian." So I don't mind being challenged. I don't mind being disagreed with, but you have to take turns when you talk. Now, another thing I want to talk about on the program today is the big release of all these Epstein files. Okay, there's nothing in them. You know, there's over 32,000 pages. When these files dropped yesterday, okay. I was like, okay, let's go. They finally got them. They've been asking for them. Now they got them. Here we are 12 or more hours later since the files have dropped. Millions of people around the world have been going through those files. What has come out? What scandal? What is new with those? Now that you got the files, what's there? And you know what? We're 12 hours, maybe more, since they've been available. Nothing. Nothing. I've been telling you guys for years, there is nothing in those files. You're not going to find anything in those files. If there was anything in them, okay, if there was anything in these files that was scandalous about any important people, politicians, rich people, famous people, the deep state already took them and they're using them to blackmail them to do whatever they want them to do. right? And you might say, well, what would they blackmail a celebrity for? Well, I'll give you an example. They use celebrities all the time to endorse things and get them behind things. Remember a few years back, the celebrities were promoting DNA testing so you could find out your family tree. All these famous movie stars and everything were doing that. And you could get the DNA test to get your family heritage for like nothing, right? I was talking about this. I didn't do that. And I was telling you, the government is trying to put together a fingerprint database, a DNA database. And they use celebrities to do it, okay? And a lot of these celebrities aren't too crazy about getting their DNA out there because a lot of them mess around and they don't want people coming after them claiming paternity and stuff, right? They get their DNA out there. It's online. Oh, my goodness. Who knows? They have all kinds of kids coming out of the woodwork that didn't even know they were the children of celebrities. But they got that. Those are the kind of things they get celebrities to do. Rich and people in industry, you can, all kinds of things, and the same with politicians. Okay? So I've been telling you guys for years this, the Epstein files, don't expect much of anything. In fact, expect nothing. And here we are, nothing came out of it. Unless I missed it, those files that came out yesterday, it's been 12 or more hours, 12 to 14 hours. What is one thing that's come out of them? That's right. Nothing. I wish something big did come out so we could finally settle it and move it on and find out everything. There's nothing in there. If there were things in there, it'd be all over the news today. Or internet sleuths would be posting it all over social media, and there's nothing. I've been telling you this for many years. And if there is something in those files that came out that I missed, let me know right now. The number's there because I missed it. The only thing they have are these this video, right? That they say the video contradicts what Pam Bondi said and released in their video. All we have are two different cuts of the same video. And the way I did a live stream early this morning around 4 a.m. and I was talking about this. Basically what we have is Pam Bondi, if you were in movie terms, Pam Bondi has the theatrical release edit and the Congress had the director's cut. But what was in that? A seconds of nothing? Now, if this video had some seconds that were not in the Pam Bondi video and we saw a hitman come and go, I'd say, whoa, who's that guy? But there's nothing. I've read several stories on the video differences, and I don't see what they're telling us is different. Do you? What did I miss about the video? Nothing. They just have different cuts. When people were making copies of things, I don't know what happened. But there's nothing in this extended cut that reveals anything. There's so many people that have an Epstein, Moby Dick-like obsession. A lot of people that are influencers are going to make a big deal out of nothing. I could have made on my main video for the show today, the thumbnail is Ilhan Omar, $0 to $30 million, and it's how to make more money than 99% of the population with the Ilhan Omar method is the thumbnail and the title. Now, I could have made a thumbnail on the Epstein files and done some clickbait. I already told you what the method is. We already went through it. I could have done some clickbait on the Epstein and talked about, look at the video. That's all clickbait. There's nothing new or scandalous in what was released yesterday. And you may say, well, did you read the 32,000 pages? No. But millions of people have. And if there was something in there, even one thing, it would be all over X this morning. And that would be what I'd be talking about. I would very much have liked them to find that the guards in the jail, there was some financial investigations and found out they came into a lot of money. Oh, let's look into that. Or the video we got a new cut of the video, and we saw this mysterious man walk in and out across the camera view. Who is this guy? And let's find out who this mystery man is. But there's nothing. And all it does is cause more rabbit holes to nothing. And, you know, what I talked about is if you go back through the history of conspiracy theories, we have gotten the release of the two biggest conspiracies of the last over half century, the JFK files and the MLK files. There was nothing there. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? There you go. You're on you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on. Go ahead.
Oh, hey. I just had a quick question about the Epstein files and stuff related to that. Have you ever played What's in My Hard Drive challenge? Because I think you have some weird stuff in there, bro.
Well, I don't know. You can think what you want. See what I mean? If there was something in those files, it'd be trending right now on X. You wouldn't be able to keep it silent or keep it secret. By the way, he hung up. I didn't hang up on him. And I so much wanted something to come out of that so we could end this nonsense and move on. So all we have is created a new rabbit hole of new crap. That's the way it is. And, you know, the JFK and the MLK assassination files, for 60 years, we've been hearing about the JFK assassination files. If we could only get those files, same thing with MLK. If we could only get those files, we got them. The JFK files were months ago now. What is one thing that's come out of those files? The government did it. Well, we knew that, but who in the government? Right, exactly, nothing. The greatest conspiracy of our time, and I have no doubt in my mind that the U.S. government killed President Kennedy, Senator Kennedy, and the great Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, I have no doubt in my mind. Same people that shot Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy shot Trump and Butler, so to speak. Right? We know this. And MLK, too, was killed by the government of the United States, probably. And we got all the files, and we got Jack. Nothing. And they've been out for a long time. Unredacted, the JFK files. Nothing. And that's how it always works with these conspiracies. They always turn out the same way. I'm waiting. Mike at the radio station will tell me in a moment or two. Oh, he just did. Just texted me what time we'll be on. Great. Cool. All right. We have just a couple of minutes and the radio show will start. If you're on hold, hang in there. Now that we've just crossed the top of the hour, I'm not going to take any more calls until after the radio show begins, just in case they mistakenly hit the on button and put us on. But you're welcome to call in about any of these things. The number is pinned in the live chat. And I am going to recap some of this as we go on. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. And click the notification bell. I do live streams all the time, taking calls when I'm in the studio. And I'm here every weekday morning, Monday through Friday. I'm also here on the weekends and in the afternoons, too. If you haven't been catching my afternoon show, click that notification bell because I always cover the news that breaks later in the day on that program for my podcast. We'll be on the air in about 90 seconds live on the radio. That's right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me know in the chat, how do you think Ilhan Omar made her money? How do you think Ilhan Omar made her money? We'll be live in 1 minute. telling me what commercials I have to do in this hour. Oh, shoot. I've got new copy for one of them. Do I have time to print it? No, I don't. Okay. I've got new copy I got to print for a commercial, but I'll do that during the break. Here we go, guys. Excuse me. Stand by. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. Can you believe it's Wednesday already? Holy smokes. Well, Monday was a holiday for a lot of people. Not me, but for a lot of people. This is Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Welcome, one and all. Okay, we've got a lot to cover. A lot of news has broken since yesterday. I want to talk about the Epstein file release here for a few moments, and then we got a lot of other things to cover too. NBC News, you've heard the story. Congress releases first batch of Epstein files. Okay, so they released about 33,000, just under 33,000 files. They came out yesterday late in the afternoon. We are 12 hours or more since the release of these Epstein files. What has come out? What new thing has come out? You know, there are now I understand in conservative circles and MAGA circles, I think I'm a minority of people that talk in the microphones that are MAGA who take this position openly. Notice I say openly. And that is, there's nothing in these files. And there'll never be any. I don't care how many files they release, 100% unredacted, there will never be anything in these files. And if you go through the history of scandals and cover-ups and conspiracies in American history, when has there been a batch of files that proved everything that you believed and things happened? When? It's never happened. Never. You know, these conspiracy theories feed on themselves, and nothing ever comes of it. You know, over the course of time, the Epstein files and scandal will disappear. 50 years from now, nobody will know what you're talking about. Do you disagree? Tell me about Teapot Dome, one of the biggest political scandals in American history. Tell me about Teapot Dome without Googling, right? Exactly. But there are political conspiracies that are forever. Biggest one is the assassination of President Kennedy. President Kennedy, 99.9% of Americans believe, I'm one of them, that President Kennedy was killed by our own government. Bobby Kennedy Jr. Has talked a lot about this in the last couple of years, and of course he's a top expert on this. And he says both his dad and his uncle were murdered because of their withdrawal plans from Vietnam. And so for 60 years, we've had JFK assassination stories out there about the conspiracy. If we could only get the files, the same ones the Warren Commission had, all these files, if we could just get the files. President Trump released everything months ago. What is one thing that came out of the JFK files? What is one thing? President Trump released all of them. And that's how many, if you could find a bookstore, all right, how many books are on the shelves at Barnes & Noble about the Kennedy assassination right now? If you went on Amazon, how many Kennedy assassination books have been written about the Kennedy conspiracy? So we get all the files, nothing. A few weeks ago, President Trump released all of the Martin Luther King files. What came out of those? Nothing. These conspiracies about, if we just get the files, we'll get everything. They never reveal jack. They never reveal anything. And I've been telling you on this program for years, the same is true of the Epstein files. You will never get anything out of the Epstein files. There are so many conspiracies about this, that, and everything. We could go through a list of them. Nothing's ever revealed. But in America, people love a mystery. And they love conspiracy. And people promote things that are nonsense. Some of the biggest ones are, over the years, other than the Kennedy assassination, and I believe the government killed both Kennedys and Martin Luther King. Some of the other ones I point to that kind of forgotten about. Amelia Earhart. How many things, Amelia Earhart used to be a big deal. In fact, in the 70s, a woman came forward claiming to be her, right? Remember all that stuff? And if you could find, if you could find online right now, books and documentaries about the Amelia Earhart cover-up. She really wasn't trying to fly around the world. She was doing a spy operation for the United States on the Japanese growing influence in the Pacific. And that's what she was really doing. And the Japs took her plane down. And I've even seen stories of people that were interviewed that, I was in the cell next to the one where they were holding Amelia Earhart on this island. That's all BS, but there's a lot of money to be made in conspiracy. Before clickbait, people were still clickbaiting in different ways before the modern form of it. Amelia Earhart's conspiracy. Here's the truth about Amelia Earhart. She was a very unqualified pilot who had no business flying anywhere, not far, but her husband was a money-hungry publicity stunt guy and got her to do it. And her navigator was a drunk who shouldn't have been navigating anything. You had a drunken navigator and an unqualified pilot, and they went down. Stupidity and incompetence. There's no conspiracy. That's exactly right. And there's many of these. There's been a lot of conspiracies over Lincoln. These things have kind of died off because, in the middle of the 20th century, Lincoln was a lot of conspiracy theories were promoted about Lincoln. There was a long-standing theory. I used to see this as a kid in the 70s. There were that the Secretary of War, Stanton, was behind the Kennedy assassination and even conspired to help John Wilkes Booth escape Washington, D.C. after the assassination of President Lincoln. Right? And they made all kinds of things about that. There was even a movie made, or a miniseries made on Apple TV a year or two ago based on that book Manhunt. And it was called Manhunt on Apple TV. And it was about Stanton was the hero in that, not a conspirator. But Stanton, the Secretary of War, and Manhunt, which they made into this series, there was a conspiracy that the Confederate government, the Democrat President Jefferson Davis was behind the assassination. That was another conspiracy theory. There's a lot of money in conspiracy theories. What about the Loch Ness Monster? The Loch Ness Monster. I have seen now these things, some of these have died off, but the Loch Ness Monster, I remember seeing so many photographs of something above the wall. Oh, look, that's the neck of the monster. There was even one boat race. There was some high-speed boat race in Loch Ness, and there was a crash, and there's film of it, very grainy, because this is the 60s, the 70s. I don't remember what year that was. And the boat in the boat race hit the Loch Ness Monster, and it caused the accident. What about the Bigfoot conspiracy? Oh, my goodness. People on the search for Bigfoot. People had these photographs of Bigfoot, always looking towards the camera with his right leg bent, looking over. It was a guy in a gorilla suit. But there are still people who make money on the Bigfoot conspiracy. There's a museum about Bigfoot. So, my point is today you're going to see, and in coming days, you're going to see a lot of conservative influencers, okay, pushing the Epstein file cover up and conspiracy. This videotape of the jail cell, okay? The videotape is a different cut of different version of what Pam Bondi had. There's a couple more seconds in the middle. So what? Somebody made a copy, and the copy that Bondi, Cash, and Bongino had is a couple seconds shorter with some edit. And this one, but what does it show? Other than that they had different edits. And there's another big, yeah, exactly, nothing. But a lot of conservatives are going to push this, and I could have done that. I could do that. I could go, and I could go through some articles about it. Oh, look, there's second here. Now, if this second of video, couple seconds they have in the video, showed an unknown man walking across the room, I'd say, well, who's that guy? Let's get to the bottom of this. But it's nothing. But there's a lot of money and conspiracy and mystery. I talk a lot. I subscribe to the Discovery app, the Discovery TV app, for one reason and one reason only. I like ID. I like the murder mysteries. I like true crime, okay? And, that true crime is so popular. There was, I can't remember the name of this, but there was there's a bit on Netflix right now. Somebody could tell me the name of this. There's a documentary about a girl who went missing on a cruise ship back in the 90s. And I watched it. What's her name? Does anybody remember the name of this girl? It's on Netflix right now. They were promoting it hard last week. And there's been this whole conspiracy created of this girl who went on this cruise ship with her family, and and she disappeared, and she was kidnapped by a guy in the band and sex trafficked and all this crap. I can't remember her name. If you know the name, call me and let me know. And I watched the whole documentary. I was interested because I love true crime and stuff and cruising. And she wasn't kidnapped by the guy in the band and sex trafficked. They even interviewing, oh yeah, she's got 2 kids and she's living in, I forgot what island, Aruba or something. I can't remember what island. She fell overboard on the balcony. That's what happened when the ship was at sea. Okay? There's no conspiracy. She never left the cabin. She was sharing a cabin with her parents and her brother. Her and her brother were smoking out on the balcony. Brother went to bed. She stayed. Her clothes and shoes and everything else were still in she never left the room. She fell overboard. That's what happened. While the ship was at sea. There's no conspiracy, but they've created this whole conspiracy around it. Same with Epstein. Now, Epstein's a bad guy and did a lot of bad things. But there's nothing new in these files. Now, I'm not avoiding the story. I would very much have liked to get a settlement to this and them have all kinds of big things. But that's not what happened. All right, I'm going to take our first break. You're welcome to call in and share with me what I missed in the Epstein files. The ones that came out yesterday. I don't want to go through the history of Epstein and all this stuff. What was released in the files yesterday or in this smoking gun video that we keep hearing about in the news that is earth-shattering, please let me know. Our number here is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. And those of you out there that say, I always avoid the Epstein, this is your chance to tell me what is in the files that were released yesterday, including this video, that changes everything. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. My name is Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Pretty fair, huh, guys? Exactly. Hold on, I got to fix my mic. There we go. If you're on hold, stand by. Exactly. And I think my position is quite fair on this. I really do. gotta print up some copy. I forgot to print up for a commercial. New copy for a commercial. Oh boy, they sent me the copy. I forgot to print it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. Well, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll be back shortly, and I will take your calls. I hope I have ink in the printer for this. Okay. We'll be back shortly, guys. Oh, it just printed. Good, good, good. It's printing. This is copy I need for a commercial. Good, I got ink. Oh. This is some new copy I have for a new a commercial I have to read over. Okay, hold on. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll take the calls when we get back. That doesn't seem right. I missed something. Yes, I thought so. Okay. All right, I have to get it at the next break. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll get to calls after the break. We'll be back in less than 30 seconds. We're back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. So I just want to clarify. This is your chance, guys. But we have to. I want to keep this narrow. In the files that were released yesterday, what is new and earth-shattering that changes everything? I don't want to go through the history of everything. I want to know what are in the files yesterday that's game-changing. 888-465-2631. We got a lot to cover today, but that's this is your chance. Brian, you won't talk about Epstein. No, we're talking about it today, but I want to keep it to the files yesterday. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey.
Oh boy.
You guys still on the radio?
Oh my goodness. Are you still high?
No, I'm sorry.
We're still on the radio. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm a little rough because I'm used to dealing with on one of our stations we're having a signal change. So so hold on. I got an email about this and all my stuff here. Hold on. I'll tell you. They said give me an email. If you normally listen to us on 96.9 FM in Broward, switch over to
Broward.
okay. If you're in Broward, switch for a short time because we're picking up a new signal in Broward. Okay, I can't tell you what it is yet, but if you normally listen to us in Broward on 96.9, check us out on 104.3 HD, or look for us on iHeartRadio, or listen to me on YouTube. Okay, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. You can catch us there, and when the new signal picks up, which will be soon, I'll let you know.
So you're not on the radio right now?
No, we're on the radio. We're just not. No, we're on 5 radio stations right now. We're just not on the one you normally listen to. So you have to go to another
104?
104.3 HD, or look for True Oldies on iHeartRadio, or go to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, and you can listen there. Or you can Alexa, play True Oldies FLA. That works too. You can hear me there. There's all kinds of ways. And when the new signal is up, I'll let you know. But no, we're still on the radio. Alexa off. Sorry guys, I just turned all my Alexas on. I have one in every room.
Do you have a web page where you have all that published? What the
yes.
current one is?
Yes, TrueOldiesFLA.com. TrueOldiesFLA.com. Sorry to be so rough in the beginning, but I'm used to dealing with weirdos on the phone.
Okay.
All right, take care. Take care. Yeah. He's a fan, but he's cranky and grumpy, and I was a little rude in the beginning. So we're still on the radio, just not on that particular signal right now. We're picking up a new station. So, this Epstein thing will be around for a long time because there's a lot of people that know there's an audience of, like with this this cruise ship thing I was talking about, where they made the Netflix documentary about. Okay, there is 100% zero conspiracy about that. When I watched the documentary, I couldn't believe that they made a documentary about this because it's so obvious. She just fell overboard. But since that documentary came out, there are tons of people online on every platform you can imagine that have entire programs just dedicated to this girl that fell overboard, creating some international sex trafficking ring. Okay, to her. And if you saw her, she's the last girl that the sex traffickers would be looking for. And the way that it works is people watch, so more people do it. And when it comes to Epstein, if I talked about Epstein just one day a week and dedicated a show to it, it would be a show with a full board of calls with internet conspiracy theorists calling in. See, what you got to understand, if there ever was anything in those files that incriminated powerful politicians, celebrities, or international business people, it would be out there already in the hands of the deep state or others in the government to blackmail them to do whatever it is they wanted them to do. Don't you get it? That's how these things work. So I'm going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. I'm going to move on to other topics because there's a lot of important things to cover. But this is your day. All of you people that tell me I'm afraid to talk about Epstein, that I'm avoiding, I'm diverting, I'm distracting, and all this stuff, which is nonsense. This is your day to call and share with me what are in these 32,000 plus pages of Epstein files that were released yesterday that is new, that is groundbreaking, that is earth-shattering, that changes everything and exposes something. I want to keep it to the 32,920 pages. That's a lot to cover, but I want to keep it to those. When we get back, I want to move on to some other topics, but you're welcome to call me with that throughout the show today. 1-888-465-2631. If you're on hold, stand by. My name is Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. Now, guys, if you are 65 years of age or older or turning 65 soon, call Chapter. They'll answer all your Medicare questions for free. You know, millions of seniors are not receiving all the Medicare benefits they're entitled to. Many millions are paying more money than they should be paying for their Medicare. Chapter, which covers all 50 states when it comes to Medicare, no matter where you are in the United States, they can help you. The average Chapter client saves $1,100 a year on what they're paying. That's amazing. That means a lot of people are saving a lot more. That's great. Also, make sure you're getting all the benefits that you're entitled to. And we're about a month away from open enrollment period. That is such a busy time in the Medicare industry. You want to call Chapter right now. You'll get a live agent on the phone. They'll answer all your questions. It's completely free. No catches, no gimmicks, no nothing. Make sure you're not paying too much. Make sure you're on the right plan. There's over 24,000 Medicare plans, and because they're a national company, they have access to all of them. And with the open enrollment around the corner, that very busy time in the Medicare insurance industry, you'll be at the front of the line to get help right away when open enrollment comes. The number is in the description of the video, but you can also call 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. The number's also in the description. All right, let me get that copy I printed up. Okay. This is new copy for something I got to read over. We'll be back in just over 30 seconds. Oh, if you're on hold, stand by, because I got to get some... Sometimes things just bug you, and you got to get them off your chest, right? I pulled this up. This is what I'm talking about. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. I want to share this one story here, okay, on the Epstein file release yesterday to explain what I mean. When I woke up this morning, and I do this every day, before I get out of bed, I grab my iPhone and I check some of the breaking news before I even roll out of bed. Wakes me up a little bit, then I take a shower. This morning, when I did it, I immediately, because I figured, well, last night the Epstein files came out. Something must have dropped. So the first place I went was the Daily Mail in the UK. And the reason I went to the Daily Mail first is because since they cover all the American news, but because they're in the UK, they're 5 hours ahead of us. So I thought, well, their day's already started, and by the way, I got up at 1:30 this morning. I get up in the middle of the night. So they'll have it. They had nothing, right? So then I go to the trending on X. I go to all these sources. There's nothing other than the missing minute in the Jeffrey Epstein jail security video that was revealed. Okay, now this is Fox News' version. And like I said, I read 3 or 4 versions of this story, okay, which I'm going to read to you now. And if there's something here that changes anything, please let me know, okay? This is Fox News. A newly released congressional video fills a 1-minute gap in an earlier surveillance from notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein's jail unit. 2 key clips, part of a nearly 34,000 file drop by the House Oversight Committee Tuesday night, revealed the highly contested minute missing from surveillance footage filmed outside Epstein's cell. The disputed minute lasts from 11:58:59, August 9th, 2019, to midnight on August 10th, 2019. The missing minute. Original forensics experts previously found... this is from Fox. I'm reading this word for word, okay? Digital forensic experts previously found the clip released by the Department of Justice was chopped from at least 2 separate video segments and strung together using Adobe Premiere Pro, fueling conspiracy theories that the administration was covering up Epstein's death. The new drop from the House committee shows the camera data switched at about midnight, leading to a necessary binding of the 2 clips for a consecutive video. Fox News Digital combined the 2 clips after the latest release on Tuesday, showing there was indeed no lapse in footage. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. Hold on a second here. Hold on. I'm reading this online and I hit the wrong. If you're on hold, stand by. I will get to the calls, but I just want to, okay. The new drop. Okay, where am I? Okay. Fox News Digital combined the 2 clips after the latest release on Tuesday, showing there was indeed no lapse in footage, contradicting Attorney General Pam Bondi's previous explanation that the last minute of footage is deleted every night. What we learned from the Bureau of Prisons was every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing, Bondi previously said at the White House. Right? I remember that. It's unclear why the footage disappeared, though the minute that was missing from the original drop did not reveal any action inside the jail block. The GOJ found Epstein, blah, blah, blah. That story's everywhere. The missing minute. There's nothing there. All it shows is that the Justice Department had a different edit of the video, a different cut, a different copy than they had at the House committee. There's nothing there. Okay? And Fox doing a little clickbait. They have a clip. You see a guy from behind, looks like a jail guard, walking through a door. Ooh, missing minute. Is that a mysterious man? No. We've already seen all this. So this is what I'm talking about. This and if I'm missing something, let me know. Okay, please. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. This is David from Tamarack.
Hey, David.
Good morning. I just want to let you know I'm able to catch the show at 95.3. It's a little spotty, but I could catch the show on 95.3.
Yeah, 95.3 doesn't cover all of Broward, so that's why we're not giving that. Yeah, but you can get us on 95.3 FM as well, yes.
Like I said, it's a little spotty, but it's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was thinking about those Epstein files. Does it seem a little bit unusual that it's 40,000 pages? is that kind of a big file?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying it's fake or anything, but why would it be so huge, that file?
I would imagine there's a lot of duplicate. I don't know. And there's more coming. But, I mean, to me, there's more coming of what? More nothing. If there was one sentence of something, it would be all over the internet by now.
If there was something on Trump, they would have brought it out during the elections a long time ago, obviously. Mm-hmm. All right.
Appreciate the call. So 95.3.
When we're on hold, it used to be years ago. I mean, a year ago, they used to listen to the show when you're on hold. Now you're hearing this like flamenco music, so you have to keep the radio on.
It depends on which studio I'm in, because I broadcast from different studios on different days. Sometimes I'm not always in the same place. If I'm at the radio station, you hear that. If I'm not, you hear that. Okay, that's how that works.
It's better to hear the show, so this way you can turn off your radio, you listen to the show, and if you get to talk, terrific.
Yeah, I know, but all right.
Day.
Appreciate the call.
Thank
appreciate the call. See, our listeners, they're in tune to every aspect of everything that goes on with this show. All right, so that's that, and as I said, you can call throughout the day on what's new in the Epstein files, and it is fair game today. But it is what is new in the Epstein files, okay? What is new? And yeah, and I know, and this is the thing. How many times have you heard me take calls from people saying, "Oh, Brian, you're afraid to talk about the Epstein files"? No, we're talking about them now, but I want to limit it to what was released yesterday. Now, again, that's only 33,000 pages almost. So, there's a lot to cover there. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine, Brian.
Hey, Jeff. What's up?
Hey, I heard, I read that the new evidence, the new stuff released was flight logs from U.S. versus Ghislaine Maxwell, an evidence list, in a contact book redacted, in redacted masseuse list believed to be reference to Epstein's victims. Mm-hmm. So the redacted stuff, I remember Trump said originally was to protect innocent people that was on the list that had nothing to do with it. And I believe that President Trump, when he found out how much of a scumbag Epstein was, he never talked to him again, and there's other people like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
They are trying to protect some innocent
people.
Well,
I give you an example. There are people that there are people that have my cell phone number that I hear from all the time. I don't know how the hell they got my number. Okay? But there's a lot of people that have my cell phone number that I don't give my cell phone number out very often. But there are people that have it, and I don't know how they got it. Steve Kane has had the same phone number he's had the same cell phone number for as long as I've known him, and I've known him over 30 years, right? It used to be a car phone in his car with a cord on it and everything. Just because
I remember that. My dad had one.
Yeah. So just because someone has your number and it's in a phone book doesn't mean you're wrapped up in a conspiracy with them. So what it makes, and who knows who's got my phone number or even your phone number in a phone book. So what does that do? If someone gets jammed up and they have your phone number in their phone book in their phone and that's released to the public, all of a sudden you're connected to this sex ring, you got to redact that. It's not right.
Right.
Why should some innocent person be hooked up with this crap?
Right. And how about the victims? All their names have to be redacted to protect the innocent victims. There's a lot more to releasing information and protecting innocent people, especially the victims.
See, what we learned at Turning Point USA in Tampa is that in some of our, hey, listen, I'm as MAGA as it gets, right? I am. I mean,
that's right.
But in MAGA circles, there are a lot of people that are obsessed with this issue. So a lot of conservative influencers that are clickbaiters focus on this issue all the time because it's a great way to bring attention. But just because you can get attention in lots of action doesn't mean you should do it. As an example, there's a couple of rules of radio that I learned from a lot of people in broadcasting. There's two topics that are deadly to bring up on the radio. They get the lines lit up. What would you do if you won the lottery? And that's a big one because there was that Powerball story in the news this week. What would you do if you won the lottery? It'll light up every line, right?
Yep.
Who cares what you'll do when you win the lottery? Okay. The other one is don't bring a psychic on to take calls. That's another deadly thing. There's some other things, but they get a lot of calls. It doesn't mean you should do them. And one of the morning after the Super Bowl, drunken morning show guys they used to have people call in about their favorite Super Bowl commercial. That's another deadly topic. So the Epstein stuff gets a lot of conservatives jazzed up and gets the phone lines filled, gets a lot of people listening, gets tweets and retweets and clicks and all that. But it's just I hate to say it, but it's a money grab for a lot of people for attention. There's I've been telling you guys for years, there's nothing in these damn files. I wish there was, because I'd like to move on and get this settled. But when have you ever seen?
That's right. Get it behind us.
Exactly. Believe me. Yeah. I wish this came out and that video showed some guy that we hadn't seen before and a couple minutes of footage walking to and from the cell that we could search and find out who he was. But there was nothing. Appreciate the call, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you,
All right. Take care. I like you. Oh, let me take this one, Cole. Then we'll break. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Yeah, I took it cold. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Alan.
My name's Brian.
My name is Alan.
My name's Brian Craig.
Yeah, how you doing, Brian?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Alan?
Well, I'm doing well. I'm doing fine. I'm a fan of your videos, and I thought that making a call this morning would be something great.
Yeah. Well, you're here. What's on your mind? You called me. You got me. You called me, and you got me.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious, right? I'm very curious.
Here we go.
Because after watching you for a while, you don't seem like a very. I'm not saying you're young. I'm not saying you're old, but at least you've been around for a minute, right?
I'm 54 years old.
Yes. Yeah. So 54 means that you've actually been in the 90s and in the 2000s and so on and so forth. So with that said, you've been around, you've heard about Trump. Trump is not a new guy. You've heard about his dad. None of this is new, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and you've heard about his friends and all what he's been doing, right?
I don't know what you're referencing, but yeah, I'm up to speed on everything Trump, sure.
Exactly. So I'm just curious why the narrative suddenly just changes, and now he is a good guy.
He always was a good guy. When was Trump not a good guy?
Oh, forever. He has never been a good guy.
By whose standard? Who says?
Well, according to just life standards. And
life. Give me an example of that. Give me an example of his life that was bad. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, first and foremost, he is on his third divorce and married a young lady and hung out with a whole bunch of billionaires that have shitty issues.
Okay, all right. First dump of the day, Mike. Oh my goodness. Mike was off yesterday, so his finger got a break. Oh, man. If you're on hold, stand by. There's something new from Solomon's I want to talk about. It's brand new. The Shield Link. Have you guys heard about the Solomon Shield Link? This is cool. It's an all-in-one ecosystem that integrates all your devices, your phone and all your devices at home. And here's how it works, okay? The Solomon's Shield Link takes all your everyday routines and actions based on your preferences and connects all of your devices to react to you. So what happens is you come home, whatever time you come home, morning, noon, or night, whenever you normally come home, your lights come on, your computer comes on, your music comes on, your TV comes on, right as you enter the home. You walk in the front door of your house, boom, everything comes on, just like you want it. It's like your whole house is set up on you're like George Jetson, it's all set up on your preferences. The Shield Link from Solomon's can act on almost any scenario and create scenes based on what you want to happen. Where, like right now, it's like 10,000 degrees every day. You can have your thermostat turned down when you turn your alarm on, right? So you're not blowing the cool air when you're not home. You leave the house, you turn on your Solommani shield, you got your alarm on, it turns the air up so you're not wasting electricity, keeping the house cool when there's no one home, as an example. Can turn your security lighting on so your home looks like someone's home even when you're not. On top of that, the Solommani Shields link is compatible with devices already in your home. Solommani includes installation for all of your devices, plus they offer 24/7 support. So if you have to troubleshoot a problem, you want to add something, you can call them anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a call. And the number, let me double check here, okay? Just double check. And this is news. Okay, yeah, okay. The number is 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. All right, pretty cool, huh? Check it out. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be back right after this. We'll be back shortly, guys. 20 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the air. Okay, and I got a lot to cover today, but where are all these big mouths? Always, oh, Brian, you're afraid to talk about Epstein. You're diverting. Why aren't you talking about the Epstein? Today's your day. Where are they? Because there's nothing in those files. That's why. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Peter, and I live in Virginia Beach.
All right, Peter in Virginia Beach. What's on your mind?
I watched a very interesting video yesterday about this subject by a guy by the name of Monkey Works. Look it up.
Well, I'm not in the business of looking up. I'm in the business of talking. So tell me what's in the files that were released yesterday that's new, that's groundbreaking, earth-shattering, and exposes something.
I have not checked the files, but this gentleman claims that a certain Mr. E is still alive. At a latitude and longitude.
A latitude of longitude. Where in the Bermuda Triangle? I mean, come on. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know who this guy is, but what that is clickbait. I mean, like there used to be a big there used to be a conspiracy theory that went on for decades that Anastasia Romanoff was alive, that survived the murdering of the Romanov family, the Tsar and his family, right? They found their graves. You're not familiar with the Russian Revolution and the Tsar and how they murdered his family?
I could not speak on that because I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, well, you don't need to be familiar with it to understand. But there was the Russian Revolution. They the Tsar abdicated, and then later they murdered the Tsar and his family. All right, and then years later there was this woman who claimed to be Anastasia Romanoff, one of the princesses that survived, and she survived the shooting because her coat was lined with jewels that were sewn inside, and they even made a movie about
like Kevlar.
Yeah, they even made a movie about it. About Anastasia. I can't remember the name of the movie. Might have been called Anastasia. But I think there was even a Disney cartoon about it. But they made a feature film like in the 50s or 60s about it, okay? It was a big movie. Mm-hmm. And it went on forever. Well, when the Soviet Union fell, they found the graves. She was in the grave. They identified all the bodies. They had DNA because their family members alive in other countries. And they found all the kids. It was all a lie. All right. There was, there was a woman in the 70s came forward and said she was Amelia Earhart. And she went on national television and had press conferences and all kinds of crap. All BS. Okay. There's a lot of money in conspiracy. And I don't know who you're talking about, but there's a lot of, if you do these stupid things, oh, Epstein's alive, it's this longitude and that latitude and all this. People watch. It's all crap. Like, for example, here in this is one big one I talk about a lot because of where I live. I live in South Florida. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, right? My mother lives in Fort Lauderdale. My daughter I was in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is one of the points of the Bermuda Triangle. And let me answer all these lines. There is a long-term conspiracy about Flight 19. You ever heard of Flight 19 that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, there's been a lot of things that have disappeared, but what this gentleman claimed...
I don't care what this gentleman claimed. I'm making a bigger... I don't know. No. Flight 19, right at the end of the war, was a naval air wing that flew out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. And it's been going on since, was it 45 or 6 when this happened?
45.
Yeah, well, I know when the war was over, but I'm talking about Flight 19 going missing. It was either 45 or 46. I can't remember the exact month, but it was either the end of 45, beginning of 46. And it was such a conspiracy theory. Steven Spielberg's movie, have you ever heard of it, Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yes, I have.
Okay, have you ever seen it?
Yeah, as a kid.
Okay, and the first scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they're in the desert somewhere, like in the Middle East, right? Remember that? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
And they find Flight 19. The planes look brand new. They still have gasoline in the tanks. And Flight 19 that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle is there in the desert. That's how Close Encounters of the Third Kind begins. At the end of the movie, spoiler alert for the movie of the 70s here, when the people that get abducted by the aliens come off the plane, one of them is one of the pilots from Flight 19. So what we found out is that the captain, now there's been investigations that have been done, and there have been some radio communications that were made. There were student pilots with, and the commander of the flight wing got lost, right? And there was a radio communication. He thought he was over the Florida Keys. He was supposed to be flying to the Bahamas. They got lost. They ran out of gas. They died. But there's this huge conspiracy around it. And it exists even today in my own community in Fort Lauderdale where I live. There's a museum at the Fort Lauderdale airport, which is where they took off out of. It used to be a naval base. President Bush was stationed there in World War II. And they have a whole section about Flight 19. There's no Bermuda Triangle, no aliens. It's all BS. They got lost and they crashed, So Jeffrey Epstein is not alive. There's no conspiracy. And there's a lot of clickbait guys like Monkey Junkie or whoever you're talking about doing the plug for that's telling you he's alive at a certain latitude and longitude. Give me a freaking break.
He's not into clickbait.
But he tells you
that the island is under control of Venezuela, which would help explain the presence that we have down there. Okay?
Whatever.
Conspiracies, you need to keep an open mind. That's all. Conspiracies.
I am keeping an open mind. They released just under 33,000 pages yesterday, and I'm begging people to call in for the last 90 minutes to tell me something in those files that's new, groundbreaking, earth-shattering, that exposes something. And I'm hearing about Monkey Junkie that Epstein's alive at this location. Hey, appreciate the call. Oh, my goodness. See what I mean? About people doing the clickbaiting? Oh, it's the islands in Venezuelan waters, so that explains everything. Oh, yes, and he's Mossad. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. If you're on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest-running radio show. Our number, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll be back right after our top-of-the-hour break. If you're on hold, hang in there. Now, if you are a Medicare recipient, listen up. Give Chapter a call. When you call this number on the screen, you can call, by the way, no matter where you are in the United States. They cover the entire country. You'll get a live agent on the phone. They'll answer all your questions. It's completely free. There's no catches. It'll never cost you anything. They'll review your policy. They'll make sure you're not paying too much. They'll make sure you're on the right policy. They'll make sure you're getting all your Medicare benefits. And here we are about a month away from open enrollment. You want to give them a call so that when open enrollment happens, you're in touch with an agent right away. Because these agents at every insurance company in America get very busy during Medicare open enrollment. Call, make contact, skip the lines during open enrollment. 805-754-3033. The average Chapter client saves $1,100 a year. That's right. It means a lot of people are saving a lot more. So give them a call. The number is in the description of the video as well. 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll go to the phones when we get back. Let's see. We'll be back in less than a minute, guys. The 7 a.m. hour has begun. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. We'll go back to our phones at 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I'm not going to do any recapping. I'll take some of these calls that have been hanging on, and then I'll bring up some other things. There's a lot to cover. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Hey, Doug.
You know, so glad you brought up this Omar. I just got yesterday something sent to me, I think it was from X, of a list of all these Democrats that are all super rich from being poor. You know, I didn't see one Republican, but I guess that maybe there's some Republicans too. But there needs to be a serious audit and investigation to find out. I mean, Chuck Schumer has like $300 million. That Corey Spartacus guy has $80 million. I mean, damn. They're beating Wall Street.
Well, by the way, I want to. By the way, you give me an opportunity. Yeah, thank you, because a couple weeks ago, I haven't promoted it too much, but I've been starting the show early. I've been going live online on YouTube about 40 minutes before the radio show starts in the morning, and then going like a half hour late. So I've been going from 5:20 a.m. till about 9:20 or 9:30. So I've turned the show into a 4-hour show. And so you were watching my pre-radio show early this morning about Ilhan Omar. So I appreciate that, Doug. And you guys follow me on YouTube. And by the way, Steve hangs out with me past 9 a.m. sometimes too, taking calls and stuff. So, which is new. We don't.
Great.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I couldn't call yesterday. I want to thank you for having your show even on Labor Day. So you don't mind working, and this is great.
Why not? Why not? I built this massive studio I have here, and it's great. And I also do an afternoon show where I take live calls just like in the morning, and it's all on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube. And like I said, Steve Kane started joining me on the extra thing, which is new. But I wanted to. I'm glad you bring up Ilhan Omar. I was in the early morning hours before the radio show. I was talking about Ilhan Omar, and this is really aggravating to me because everyone's talking about her worth. In the last 12 months, her net worth has increased by 3,500%. When she first entered Congress, her net worth was negative $45,000, and now she's worth $30 million. And what's burning me about it is the coverage. I'm watching people cover the story, and no one's asking the most important question. What did Ilhan Omar do in exchange for this $30 million? Now, they have some cover story. Her husband, who surprisingly is white, and I think he's Jewish, but he's definitely white. And he's kind of like a secret. She doesn't want people to know that, right? Especially if he's Jewish. I don't know. Is Ilhan Omar's husband a Jew? I don't know. Doesn't fit in with her constituents that he's white. If he's white and Jewish, holy smokes, But that's the real scam. But here's the thing. Her husband is not they're rich now, but he wasn't. They have some financial disclosures where her husband has a business partner who's another political operative. They have a winery and some venture capital company. These companies a year ago only had like a few $100s in the bank. Now they're worth $30 million. Just like that who was that Democrat that kept running for governor of Georgia? They gave her $1 billion from the government. Stacey Abrams. So Ilhan Omar, the question is, It's not about that she's worth $30 million when and her wealth has gone up 3,500% in a year. The question is, what did she do in exchange for that money? And so this winery, what I'd like to see, everyone's reporting. Listen, I don't have resources. It's me and Steve Kane. That's it, right? We're a 2-man band, and that's it. We can't even afford new instruments, but we're here, right? So we don't have the investigative powers that these news outlets do. Fox News, I'd like to see them go to this Ilhan Omar winery. I want to see if is the Ilhan Omar winery, are they growing grapes even? Are they producing wine? And do they have contracts? Can I go to a restaurant and order Ilhan Omar wine? Can I go to a store and buy a bottle of Ilhan Omar wine? And this venture capital company, by the way, they were being sued by multiple people for fraud. Not only are they worth $30 million, they were able to pay off in cash the people suing them. So they're worth $30 million. Yeah. So this venture capitalist company that Ilhan Omar and her husband have, what did they venture some capital on? What are these businesses? What goods or services are they providing? I don't have the resources to go to the vineyard, okay, the winery or whatever the hell it is. But Fox, that's covering the story and yucking it up around the couch on Outnumbered. And I'll tell you something. Emily Compagno on Fox, you know who she is?
I think so, yeah.
Emily Compagno on Fox. She used on the 5. She's on Outnumbered. Emily Compagno.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know her. She's the good-looking one. Okay, her and her parents own a vineyard. She's in the wine business. This is right down her alley. I want to see if they're producing grapes and wine at the Ilhan Omar winery and vineyard. This is what I've learned about people that have money. Some of the wealthiest people are some of the cheapest, right? Thrifty. That's why they're rich. People don't give you $30 million unless you give something in exchange for it.
That's for sure.
All right, Doug, I appreciate the call. And I give you an example. This is an example, okay? This is a great one that shows these people are compromised. In Trump's first term, he took out General Solommani, right? The Iranian general that was the mastermind of the Islamic terrorism. There was a major scandal was going on, okay, about this. A major scandal was going on about this. And this was that he didn't inform Congress. Remember this? Trump did not inform Congress before they took out Solommani. Now, those of you that have been listening since then, you may remember, but you may have forgotten. I talked about this was a big scandal in the news. Democrats were freaking out. Pelosi was freaking out. And I said then what I'm going to say now. Why do you think President Trump did not inform Congress that they were taking out the Iranian General Solommani? Why did they not tell Congress? You know why? You know why? Because of the squad. Because of Ilhan Omar and Tlaib and others. They were, the White House, the Trump White House in the first term, was afraid the squad would let them know. They viewed them as a security risk. It was a very unusual thing not to tell them, but it was because of the squad. They're in with the Muslim Brotherhood and stuff, right? Muslim Brotherhood, that was Solommani too, so they didn't want to tell them because they would alert the Iranians, blow the operation, maybe even get Americans killed involved in the operation. That's why. So rich people don't give you $30 million for nothing. So the question is, it's not that she's worth 3,500% more than she was worth a year ago. It's not that she's worth $30 million. It's not just a punchline. What did she do for the $30 million? Now, if they go to the vineyard and find out it's lush and the grapes are there and you can go to the local stores and buy the Ilhan Omar wine or order it in a restaurant, or they show some companies that the venture capitalist firm invested in that are providing incredible goods and services, or an app and that's making bank, okay. But I'm sus of all that. As the Gen Zers would say, I think they would say, I'm sus. Aren't you? That's the question. Oh, man. All right. Oh, I got to talk to you guys about coastal weight loss secret. I've been telling you, I told you guys yesterday, after this was amazing. After the show on Friday, Okay, after the show on Friday, my wife says, like, I want to take your blood pressure. I had a headache. And my wife said, I want to take your blood pressure. You got a headache. Let me take, my wife's very health conscious. And I said, it's going to be through the roof because I just got off the air. And for years, I never take my blood pressure when I get off the air because it's always been high, very high. In fact, I'd mentioned, Game Day Men's Health is across the hall from the radio station. And I got off the air one day and went over there and they took my blood pressure. They're like, Brian, your blood pressure's through the roof. And I said, I just got off the air. Let me hang out for a few minutes and take it. And it went down. But for years, and Steve will tell you, if you take my blood pressure when I get off the air, it's through the roof. Friday, as soon as I got off the air, I took my blood pressure. Not only was it normal, it was lower than my normal. And it's because I've lost all this weight, thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it works. Give them a call, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show. Okay, this, if you're on hold, hang in there. Our number, 888-465-2631. It is Wednesday already. I know people say, I wish every week was a 4-day week, but then it'd be like a 5-day week, and then you'd want a 3-day week. And next thing you know, we'd be working 1 day a week, and then every day would, exactly. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. All right, so I wanted to... I don't even know if I should bring this up, but I'm going to. I probably shouldn't. I was thinking about it. I didn't bring this up earlier because I wanted to think about it, and I did think about it. This is kind of an impulsive thing, and I may regret saying what I'm going to say, but I'm going to bring it up. So today there's going to be a press conference with some of these Epstein victims. And there was a meeting with some Republicans in Congress yesterday. And I saw Nancy Mace just had a breakdown. Did any of you see this? there's a video of her walking by the press, and she's obviously had a nervous breakdown. Now, she is, remember, a sex assault survivor. She's red-faced. She's crying. I mean, she lost it. She can't speak. And, you know, if she now this is just me, okay? And again, this is the part I probably shouldn't be saying. If Nancy Mace is so and I understand she's dealing with trauma and she's been victimized, and I'm very sympathetic to anyone who's been victimized and suffering from trauma. Okay, I am. However, if you're this mentally unstable, should she be in a position of power like she's involved in such important decisions in the Congress? She's got a lot of trauma from what she's been through, and I just, a lot of people are saying she's acting, and I think there's a good chance of that. You know, the way she when President Trump addressed Congress and she tried to press her boobs against him, remember that? You know, I mean, what the heck? And he avoided it. She was speaking a year or two ago to a group, and she started by telling them she had just had sex with her boyfriend, and she was laughing about how great it was and all this stuff. And I couldn't believe it. She's messed up, Nancy Mace. Okay, she's MAGA and all that stuff, but she's messed up because of her trauma. Was that real, or was it Memorex yesterday? Right? Was Nancy Mace, in your opinion, acting so that everyone's talking about her today? Or is she that traumatized after meeting with the victims? Because what she did is she made it a lot about her, not these victims who have just come forward. So what do you guys think? Was Nancy Mace faking it, trying to make it about her? Or is she that mentally unstable dealing with the trauma? Let me know. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Gabriel in Tampa.
Hey, Gabriel in Tampa. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Okay. I'm calling about Epstein. Okay, now here's the thing.
Hold on. Let me answer these lines that are coming in. My phones are ringing off the hook. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing about Epstein. Okay, now, and I hope you give me some time, fair time.
Well,
because,
no, I don't know about that. I want to limit the conversation to the new files that just dropped. I don't want to go through the history of Epstein. I'll give you a little leeway, but I'm not going to promise. No, there's a lot of, but start and we'll see.
Yeah, because you say a lot of these people that are going to yell and scream about Epstein and call in and give you a hard time. You know, a lot of them figure you're going to hang up on them because you're a cheap shot artist and you like to put your tail between your legs and hang up on people. Okay, so I'm going to get to the point. If you have a little girl or little boys are raped or murdered, that's newsworthy, correct?
Of course.
Okay, or if they're, okay, so you know today, I don't hear you say anything about that they're going to be interviewing victims of Epstein.
Correct. There's going to be a press conference today, which I talked about yesterday. I've referenced several times today, and I will cover that. Sure, but it hasn't happened yet. So after the press conference, I will cover the events of the press conference, but the news has not yet happened to discuss.
Okay, and as far as conspiracy, I know you say conspiracy stuff is all maybe, in other words, like the World Trade Center, John Kennedy's affair.
No.
It's all a bunch of all a bunch of crap.
No,
right?
That's not what I said. No, I haven't said any of that.
Yeah, you said conspiracies is usually all a bunch of wasted time.
No,
and it's a show.
No, that's not what I said. You just obviously have a comprehension problem. I don't know.
No, I'm just comparing apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges? No, you're just making up crap. No, what I said was this. No, the government killed Kennedy. The government killed Bobby Kennedy, President Kennedy, Martin Luther King. The NASA is responsible for the Challenger explosion. All these things, I don't buy the official 9/11 story either. But I didn't say conspiracies or BS. What I'm telling you is that we've had what I said about Kennedy was this. Obviously, the government killed Kennedy. We all know this. The same people that killed Kennedy shot President Trump and Butler, so to speak. The same group, the deep state, no doubt. However, the Kennedy files were released months ago. I've been hearing about the Kennedy files my entire life. Nothing was in the files. Whenever you have these document drops, they're always a letdown. There's never anything in them. And I don't know of any of these document drops throughout my lifetime that have revealed anything in these conspiracy theories. A conspiracy is not, I don't mean by conspiracy that something's not true, but a lot of people put a lot into document releases and document dumps. They never reveal anything.
Well, I look at this as a disruption. The thing with Epstein, I'm saying there's nothing. Trump has nothing to hide. Okay, I'll go with that, and he needs to do his job. I 100% agree. And they need to let him go and keep up cleaning up the country. I can't wait for Chicago to happen, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that being said, let him do his job. This is disruption. And I know they're dead. The liberals are desperate. I would agree on all that. But at the same time, it's not going to do any harm to come out with, say, what you call whistleblowers. They say the victim. We'll see what happens. I do believe I think you said Obama and some others.
What I'm telling you is this, okay? When these victims come out, I'm sure they have terrible stories that I'm not looking forward to hearing, but I'm going to. I'm going to because I need to know what they say so I can talk about it, right? And I'll feel bad for them. But we know that Jeffrey Epstein was a low-life creep and did terrible things to young women, okay, and girls, okay? There's no doubt. What I'm talking about is all this stuff, there's nothing new that's come out with these 33,000 pages yesterday that shed light on anything. And all we're going to get from these girls are terrible stories, but we're not going to get anything new other than Jeffrey Epstein was a sex offender.
And if they mention any names like Clinton or whoever, big names.
I don't expect them to mention the names of anyone that's alive other than Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, I guess we'll see what happens.
We'll see. But, frankly, I think a lot of people like to talk about it because I'm not talking about you, okay? But some people are obsessed with Epstein because they're creeps. And they like to talk about it and think about it. I mean, if you think back over the years, a lot of the guys, notice I get calls from men about Epstein, not women so much, right? I mean, you could probably count on one hand how many women have called me obsessed with the Epstein conspiracy over the years. But I've talked to men for years and years, over and over, different men all the time. I'm not saying this about you, but a lot of the guys that call are weird and creepy. They call about this, right? You've heard some of them. So they got a problem. Yeah. Okay, so they like covering it and talking about it because I think they kind of like the fantasy. And it's a disgusting fantasy.
Yeah, conspiracy is not...
No, they get turned on talking about it. What I'm saying is a lot of the people that I've talked to over the years, not all, but a lot of them are creeps, and they like talking about these perversions. Why is it that I hear from men all the time about Epstein, but rarely a woman?
Well, women keep things to themselves. Women, unlike men, most women don't.
A lot of the men they call are perverts who are creeps, and they enjoy talking about it because they're creeps.
Well, what about Ghislaine Maxwell? Would you say she's a creep?
Yes.
That's a woman.
I'm talking about people that obsess on this issue and call me over the years. Ghislaine Maxwell's never called me. I'm talking about people in the listening audience. It's almost always men. And most of the men are weird. Most of the men that call in, very few women have ever called about Epstein. It's almost always a man, and most of the men are weird and inappropriate, if you haven't noticed.
But then again, women have never called in about John F. Kennedy assassination
I've talked to women about Kennedy. I'm talking about this Epstein thing in general. All right, appreciate the call from Tampa. I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. You know, so many things I love about what Jupiter Joe Thomas offers, but some of them I'm going to talk about right now. One, I love that your money is never at risk. I am not a gambler. I don't like to risk money. And with annuities, you are never risking your money. But also, I like this. Guaranteed income for life. Right? What a great addition. You know, a lot of people, they retire and then all of a sudden they're doing a side hustle. The annuity can be your side hustle. I got a buddy, his daughter grew up and he wasn't married, and he sold his house, bought a smaller house because he was by himself now, and he got a couple annuities, and he's got the money coming in every month from the annuities. He loves it, and it comes like clockwork every month, right? And he's retired a little young, so he's got a good life, and he's got that annuity income. I like that, and I also like this bonus. There's an annuity where you get a 10% bonus on your money on day one. Think about that. How long would it take you to earn 10% on your money in the market? If everything went well, a year? And there's some annuities that offer even more. Joe Thomas is offering free consultations. Give him a call. Now, if you're not in town, you could take advantage of the free consultation over the phone. If you're local, you can take advantage of it in person. And after the consultation, whether it's in person or on the phone, Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal for you. And by the way, there's no commissions. The commission is paid by the insurance company. It's out of their pocket, not yours. No commission. That's great. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I remember I had a financial advisor years ago. She was always doing these trades and everything else. You know, it was also she'd get a commission. It used to tick me off. Give Joe Thomas a call. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. We'll be right back. All right. Now, guys, hey, don't forget, open enrollment is just a few short weeks away. If you're a Medicare recipient, give chapter a call. You know, it gets very busy during open enrollment. It does. Insurance companies, insurance agents are busy. Call chapter now. You're going to get a live agent on the phone. They'll answer all your questions. It's completely free, and you'll be able to skip the line when open enrollment starts in a couple of weeks. The number is on your screen. It's also in the description of the video. And they cover the entire country. So no matter where you are in the United States, Chapter can help you with your Medicare. 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. We'll be back shortly, guys. All right, welcome back. I've been laughing to myself during the break. A friend of mine sent me a text. You know that last caller? I asked him, why is it I rarely hear from a woman about Epstein? It's just men because they're creepy. I said, men are creepy. And he said, women keep to themselves. Friend of mine sent me a text. I've been laughing about this the last couple minutes. Women keep things to themselves? Holy cow, what woman is he talking about? And I texted him back. I said, obviously he's not married. Oh my goodness. This thing about Nancy Mace, by the way, she did this walk, okay, through the press. She met with the Epstein victims they had the press conference. She walked down the halls through the press crying yesterday. I mean, I've never seen her like this, just totally out of control. She wouldn't talk to anybody. The alligator Alcatraz tears and all this stuff. Her nose was very red. And I asked this question, was she acting or was this real? And for all I know, she's just not wearing makeup, or she rubbed her nose a bunch of times to make it red. Or maybe it's real. But you mean to tell me in this big old building, the only way for her to walk out was through this, almost like a red carpet through the press with all the cameras and reporters to catch her that way? They didn't have another exit? You know, I remember there was what was the vote on? It might have been the Obamacare vote day in Congress. What the Congressional Black Caucus did, led by John Lewis. And this really was upsetting to me because John Lewis worked with Martin Luther King and was a freedom rider. And I've mentioned many times, I got to meet John Lewis once. And I was excited to shake his hand, and I said, Congressman, can I shake your hand? And I said, this is as close as I'll ever get to Martin Luther King, and I'm proud to meet you. And I was, because I admire Martin Luther King. And John Lewis got his head bashed in as a freedom rider. He's in all the historical documentaries on that. And but when he went to Congress, he's no longer with us, but he became a hack and a race baiter. And when Obamacare was being voted on, there was a big protest in front of the Capitol building. A lot of conservatives were there. This is before MAGA, but a lot of conservatives were there, a lot of Republicans that were very upset about Obamacare being passed. And John Lewis led the Congressional Black Caucus into the building, walking up the main Capitol steps through the protest, and made a claim that he was called the N-word on his way in. And this is how long ago it was. Andrew Breitbart was still alive. This is before Breitbart died. And Andrew Breitbart offered $250,000 to anyone who had any video or audio of any of the Republicans saying the N-word when John Lewis and the Black Caucus went through. And remember this? And remember when I was talking about it at the time, I was like, since when does John Lewis and the Black Caucus go in the front door where all the tourists are at the Capitol building? They've got that subway system from the parking lot underground that they all use. But he went through there so he could get the publicity, trying to relive the Freedom Rider days. Nancy Mace could have gone out another door. She didn't have to walk through the press doing this walk of tears, the trail of tears that she did yesterday. So based on that alone, it seems like a publicity stunt to me. But I could be wrong. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Oh, boy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ben from Uppinell. How you doing?
Hey, Ben. What's up?
Hey, well, first off, I wanted to tell you that when I was listening and the guy's like, yeah, women keep things to themselves, I guffawed out loud. I was like, yeah, they're really known for being stoic,
Yes.
So
yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, as far as Nancy Mace goes, you got to be careful. She's just like Gavin Newsom. She's a chameleon. She voted to hold Steve Bannon in contempt of court. She's a narcissistic attention seeker with her social. You know how they say the most narcissistic people rise to the top of social media because they're willing to just do whatever it takes to actually get attention.
Yes.
She's one of those people. So everything she does is a performance and fake. So
remember when she tried to press her boobs on President Trump when he walked into the House chamber?
I will tell you something. Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you something right now. If being a Democrat could get her more attention, she would be a Democrat.
So you think she faked it yesterday?
I think she fakes everything.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
She is nuts.
Crazy eyes.
She's crazy, yes.
Yeah, she's got the and even if she is genuine, you'll never know because she fakes things so much. You're like, wow, she could be this, she could have her. What'd she do? She did that across America tour in like a bus, and she was wearing her pajamas, and she was going out into like gas stations in her pajamas. She's like an attention seeker.
Yeah, that was recent, by the way. That was just a couple weeks ago. Very strange. I didn't quite catch what that was about. That was very weird.
She's trying to be this new wave of Congress people who like are social media stars. You know what I mean? Like. She wants to. There's like a new wave between like AOC, Ilhan Omar, all these people. She wants to be like the right wing version of AOC. She held Steve Bannon in contempt of court. He only got 6 votes from Republicans. She was one of them. She's not a good person.
Yeah,
she's not a good person.
Well, so, and also, no one could convince me that there wasn't another. If she was that traumatized and upset, she could have walked out a different way. She wanted to be seen like that.
Exactly.
And
she doesn't do any. No, I 100% agree with you. It's not for her. How many times has she brought up that she's an SA victim, a sexual assault victim? She's brought it up almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, like within 5 seconds of meeting her, you find out she's a sexual assault victim.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like she's something, and it's people who have to constantly bring it up. People who are truly traumatized about it, they have a very difficult time going back to it. She flashes it every chance she gets.
Yeah.
So no, and she married a rich guy who, she's just wacky. She's just a wacky person. So
and that time when she was addressing the Christian group and told them she had just had sex with her boyfriend in the hotel room before she was speaking to them, I couldn't believe.
I know. She has real immaturity levels. Can you imagine, there's real strong women in Congress down the Republicans that I respect, like Harriet Hagerman, who took over Liz Cheney's spot. She's excellent. Claudia Tenney from New York. She's excellent. There's real serious Republican women.
But this press conference today with the victims, Massey. I saw an interview with Massey. He grows peaches in Kentucky, right? And they did this whole story on him. I watched just the first few. I was watching it before the show, and I didn't have time to watch. He has 12 different types of peaches that ripe on different days, and they're interviewing him about peaches, and he's tasting the peaches. And they say it's a story about him living off the grid. Well, for a guy that lives off the grid, I see him online and on the internet all the time with internet sensational viral events like this press conference he's a part of today with Ro Khanna. Give me a break. Off the grid? Give me a break, Massey. Yeah. What a creep.
Off the grid. Yeah, I see him on podcasts all the time.
Exactly.
Whatever. He has a peach farm. I don't know if that's off the grid, but I don't know. I don't know about that. Massey's kind of been annoying me lately.
But this is the main thing. All right. Almost 33,000 Epstein pages come out yesterday. Nothing new. Nothing to say. And where are all these Epstein-obsessed people that I normally hear from? Not one of them is called today. Not one of them. And they're always on the line saying, you're avoiding Epstein. It's a distraction. Why? Or this one. Why are you talking about this instead of Epstein? I've opened the door to call in about... Now, I have limited it to the 32,900 pages that came out yesterday, but that's a pretty big sample. But I haven't heard from any of them today. Because there's nothing new.
The Epstein people want to derail Trump. It's like this. They're just obsessed about this one thing at the expense of everything else. You know what I mean? Yes, I wanted to get Epstein too. I really, really did. He was a monster. All the powerful people that were involved deserve to suffer. But you know what? If nothing's going to come from it, nothing's going to come from it. And, I'd rather shut the border and throw John Brennan and Clapper and Obama in jail.
Yeah.
And, worry about Epstein. I think if Trump has decided that it's best for this not to be we beat force over and over again, then let's just move on and get on to different things. I get it. We really did push for it. But, whatever. People are using it as a wedge. There's a lot of people.
Well, a lot of people, right, this is what I was talking about earlier is, now again, Epstein was a low-life creep, and all the guys around him that were doing stuff were a low-life creep. But he's been out of commission for a long time. Okay? So if there's anyone in a position of power from those days, they're really old. And they're you know what I mean? It's doubtful they're still in the loop of power. But he's a creep, and I have no sympathy for him, but they're trying to act like this is some ongoing ring that just it's and there's a lot of people, and many of them are conservative influencers. They're clickbaiters. They're you heard that idiot that called me earlier. Oh, there's this one guy, Monkey Tongue, and he says that Epstein, Mr. E, is still alive, and he's got the latitude and the longitude. And give me a break.
Yeah, man. He's in Atlantis. I don't think that the people who do that have gotten so captured by their audience, they care more about engagement and clicks than actually pushing the movement. So you'll see people like Benny Johnson who are just at this point, they've dropped all pretenses of being real conservatives, and they just want to get the clicks. And if Epstein is what people are going with, they're going to roll with it.
Well, and here's, exactly. And here's the thing. Remember the era of the shock jock, right? I mentioned that because Stern's coming back, and we're going to get a big announcement. Shock jock has transformed into some of the influencers, like Candace Owens. And the new shock jocks are shocking people, not with some woman calling in faking orgasms. Okay, the shock jocks are doing it with news now. Okay.
Yeah.
And you understand what I mean?
No, 100%. Because a lot of these people, the only people who are still going on about the Epstein files are the sickest members of our movement. So it's like you said, Jake Shields, Candace Owens. You have people like Dan Bazarian, that loser.
Yeah.
And the people who hate Trump, so Democrats, Cenk Uygur, you have everyone who's just psycho and have Israel derangement syndrome. They're the only ones talking about this.
That's right.
And everyone else that moron who called in earlier. I love how you.
Which one? Which one?
The one who thinks women are stoic.
Oh, yes.
Things close to the chest.
Well, on that note, I'm late for the break. I got to run, but I appreciate the call. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll be right back. All right. All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. Oh, I want to, this is very important about Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Listen up. Now, we have an ad running with Tom Laporta in the ad, talking about that Florida program where they have money to help, that My Safe Florida program. The end of the year will be here before you know it. You want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing now. They're going to run out of money and in that program. It's only in existence until they're out of money for the year, and they're running low. So you want to call Tom and get that going. And we're actually going to be switching out the spots where you're going to be hearing that less and less, and eventually pulling that spot very soon, because that program is going to be exhausted of funds. So give them a call. This is Tom Laporta's cell phone number. You can call or text 954-604-4602. Call today. You want to call and find out the program's out of money and it's done, okay? 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. You can call or text Tom Laporta, by the way, on his cell, 954-604-4602. Okay, did you guys watch the president's press conference yesterday? The one about moving the Space Force headquarters? He dropped some big news there, and this was exciting. Let me play this. This was very exciting.
When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see, and there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
Wow. Okay. So this is exciting. So what happened? Trump had ordered, and it took place. This is in Breitbart. U.S. military strike on a drug boat, which killed 11 of the Trinidad de Agua terrorists. Let me read this from Breitbart. On direct orders from President Trump, U.S. military forces launched a precision strike on a drug-laden vessel in international waters, killing 11 of the Trinidad guys. They're calling them narco-terrorists that were on their way with drugs to the United States. Trump declared the operation a clear warning to traffickers that those who smuggle poison towards American shores will face swift and lethal consequences. And I did watch the video. It's a small boat, the boat filled with a lot of drugs, and that was very, very exciting. And I'll tell you why. Because this war on drugs that we've been hearing about forever has really just been more of a phrase, right? You know, and I've been hearing, I guess, did the war on drugs phrase start during the Reagan era? But when have you ever seen, so we've had a lot of presidents, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump again. When have you ever seen any of our presidents during the war on drugs come out and acknowledge a U.S. military strike on a drug boat? When he said that, I was wondering what it was, and a little bit after the video dropped online, and I watched it, and it wasn't a tiny little boat, but it wasn't that big. I mean, it's just looks like something somebody has down the street, you know. And it was a military strike. Those guys, they died instantly. They didn't know what hit them. I was expecting it to be like a big ship that they took down or raided or something. It was I don't know what type of boat it was. I'm not a boating expert, but it was like back in the days of Miami Vice. And this war on drugs has been a catchphrase that they've not really done. Here we are. We send troops and planes here and there all over the world on these missions of doing things, from Libya to Grenada to Ukraine and everything in between, when our own country has been under attack. I have no recollection of any of our presidents. Now, I'm not saying that there have not been military weapons used against drug traffickers before. However, I'm not aware of it. Not like this. This was like a video you would have seen during like the Iraq War or something, taking out a Taliban target or an ISIS target. I've never seen anything like this directed towards drug traffickers outside of a movie. Have you? And I've never seen a president come out and acknowledge it. And this action by President Trump, using the U.S. military to take out a relatively small drug trafficking vessel, is a historic moment. This has never happened before, and it's about time. You know, growing up in Florida, you know, during the Reagan era, there used to be stories in the local news all the time about drugs washing up on the beach. Remember those stories? You'd hear about them all the time. And the reason that would happen is they'd see the Coast Guard come and they'd toss the drugs overboard and they'd wash on the beach. So it tells you they were really close to shore. I've never seen action like this. Or the drug planes. I've talked about this many times on the air. When I was a kid, I'd be out fishing in Lake Okeechobee or on the Kissimmee River, and I can remember many times my dad and I would say, let's see how long it takes to see a drug plane drop some drugs, and we'd see it, no numbers, and they'd throw bags out the side, you know, out around Lake Okeechobee. You know, the war on drugs has been a make-believe thing. It's never existed until Donald Trump. He shut down their trafficking through the border. I mean, the drugs coming through the southern border have to be, if any, have got to be like 1% of what they were, if any. And now, this is not going to be the only military. I mean, that was like a guided missile strike. Have we gotten details? Was that a drone strike? Was it from a naval vessel? I don't know. But that was a military strike treating the drug traffickers like ISIS terrorists, which is what you're supposed to do. Yes, smuggler's blues. How are you going to be able to get guys to start trafficking drugs by sea into the United States when Trump's taking them out with airstrikes and drone strikes like that? This is a great thing. Just say no to drugs, man. And the war on drugs, for the first time, is real. If this war was being fought like this from the beginning, we'd have no problems in this country so far as drugs. We really wouldn't. There's just people growing weed in their backyard or something, or getting or in their house and getting busted because the power bill goes up and they rat them out, right? That people get caught that way. But this is going to stop. And I bet you right now, as this story is circulating around the world, that these drug traffickers are going to have a very, you know what they have to do? They're going to have to start kidnapping people's families down in Venezuela to get them to take these boats in the United States. Because taking a boat filled with drugs in the United States is a mighty risky proposition these days, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All right. Wow. The third hour is about to begin. The show's flying. If you're on hold, stand by. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. My name's Brian Craig. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll take some calls after the top of the hour, and I have some other topics to get to that we have not yet covered, and I do want to recap a couple things, too. Don't go anywhere. Back right after this. Okay, less than a minute. We'll be back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Welcome back. Also, in that press conference yesterday, President Trump, he said another amazing thing about Chicago. He says, we're going in. And, oh my goodness, we're going in. It kind of reminded me of Escape from New York. Right? But anyway, he said, it's not a matter of, I didn't say if and when, we're going. And I wanted to play this clip. This is the idiot mayor of Chicago. Listen.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
Okay. He said the shootings are going to continue as long as Trump does what he's doing? Is that a threat? What is he saying there? Are the shootings now like part of the movement against President Trump's actions in Chicago? Because this is a very confusing comment to me.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
What? Yeah. And here's, it's strange. Here's the governor yesterday.
I'd like to ask a question of my own.
It's the same event, by the way, that the mayor said that stupidity.
I'd like to ask a question of my own. And it's one the press should be asking as well. When did we become a country where it's okay for the U.S. president to insist on national television that a state should call him to beg for anything, especially something we don't want?
Okay. Well, this has actually been the way things work. A lot of times, the federal government cannot respond in some instances unless the state calls them in. We've been hearing this a lot about the National Guard. Oh, you just can't come in. You got to be asked. So he's asking, but he's going to go in. And this is from the press conference yesterday.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
I didn't say when. We're going in.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe.
Yeah, now this is an interesting thing. This is from the press conference yesterday, the Space Force headquarters press conference. This is an interesting thing about D.C. I'm really blown away at how easily they were able to clean up the crime in D.C. I thought for sure there was going to be heavy resistance. I'm not talking about the big mouth politicians. I thought the thugs and the gangbangers were going to offer up resistance and fight. They're armed. And I was expecting a gunfight or two. Thankfully, that didn't happen. The thugs are cowards, and they basically unconditional surrender. Now, what happens in Chicago may be different because, see, in Chicago, you've got the mayor and you've got the governor telling the criminals that their civil liberties are being violated by President Trump coming in. So they may offer some resistance because they've been told that their rights are being violated. But then again, maybe they won't. And, the military presence has been an incredible deterrent. And I cannot be the only one who's shocked and surprised at no resistance in D.C. to cleaning up the crime, and they're basically crime-free zone now. There's still going to be instances, but it's like a normal neighborhood, as it should be. And it shows you that even in these big blue cities, although D.C. is on the smaller side of the big blue cities, it's still a big blue city that you can end crime. It's just the Democrats either don't know how or don't want to. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Oh, hey, Richie. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Listen, I got to tell you, I'm listening to this mayor of Chicago, and I'm saying to myself, I'm crazy because when I was a young person, if you had a politician that ran a city the way that these people do, the first thing they do would be get rid of them and go to the completely 360 degrees the other way. They had Lori Lightfoot in there. What kind of people live in that Chicago? They were looting stores. The murders have been going on at rapid pace for years. And what do? They put someone in there that's worse. What's wrong with the voters of Chicago? And then they protest. They don't want federal troops in there to
Well,
stop
with all
killing.
due respect, with the voters, they got a political machine in there that, you know, so who wins these elections, you know, is up to their political machine, mostly. I would say there's too many dopes up there. But when the mayor said the shootings will continue as long as President Trump, what is that a threat? Is that some type of...
No,
what is he
that's not a
talking
threat.
about?
That's not a threat. He's blaming President Trump for the shooting that are going on at this time. In other words, when black gangs shoot at each other and kill little girls in the street, whoever's in their way, they don't care. That's President Trump's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. These people are deranged. They're calling you up. They're deranged. They make animal sounds. You have to cut them off the phone half the time.
Yeah.
They're totally they're deranged people.
The left.
They're walking the streets among us.
Mm-hmm.
They are walking among us like the Walking Dead. I just don't understand it. They're zombie land.
Well,
and I'm
now what happens in Chicago is rougher than D.C. was, but the fact that there was zero resistance in D.C. other than the Democrats griping, I'm talking about there were no shootouts. There were no gun battles. You know, if you remember, when they got the Boston bomber, there was a big shootout with the Zarnoff brothers, the Boston bombers and the Boston police. A big shootout. It was like the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Yeah,
One of them got killed. And I was totally expecting something like that because these guys that they're arresting in D.C. are committing major felonies. Well, they'll never be free again. And they've arrested over 1,600. And no shootouts. That's amazing.
You're 100% right. I mean, I remember when those guys, they chased him all over the place. The older brother died. He got hit by a car by his brother trying to get away.
Yeah.
No, but the fact, Brian, is that these there's something really wrong within this city. And the mayor is so stupid. They got a mayor like this. The people are rebelling against this guy.
Well, you know what it is with the black Democrats. By the way, appreciate the call, Richie. This is the thing, okay? And you got to understand how the other side think. And the other side are insane. So the way I'm going to explain this to you is crazy. The redistricting that's going on, right? It's spreading to other states. And we're going to pick up, when I say we, I mean the Republicans are picking up seats everywhere because we're ending gerrymandering. You know, and what's going on in these states is not Republican gerrymandering. It's Republicans correctly drawing districts, correcting gerrymandering that Democrats have gotten through. But see, the Democrats don't think gerrymandering's bad. They think it's a good thing. Why do you think that is? Why do you think Democrats believe gerrymandering is a good thing? It's pretty... Now, again, I'm not agreeing with this, but I'm telling you what their warped logic is. Democrats believe gerrymandering is okay because it's a correction to make up for the 400 years of injustices that minorities have dealt with. And since minorities in the past didn't have a voice or a vote or anything, gerrymandering is justified to correct the rights of to make right what was wrong centuries ago that nobody... I know it's stupid, isn't it? But that's how they view it. A similar thing is true with this great crime fighting. Democrats believe that these crime waves are this is what they believe. They don't vocalize this because as nuts as they are, they know that people don't want to hear this. But the reason that the Democrats oppose these roundups of the criminals in these blue cities is this. Most of the crime in these cities is minority crime because the majority populations are minority. Very few white people in these towns. So it's mostly black and Hispanic, but black in many instances, D.C., and Chicago. The Democrats believe that you should have no cash bail and that you shouldn't arrest these people or clean up the crime because to arrest a black man and put him in jail, even though he's raped or shot or robbed or pistol whipped, it's like putting them back in slavery. Being in prison for your felonies is like being put in bondage as a slave. That's why they oppose the crime cleanups. I know, it's nuts. It's stupid. It's insane. It makes no sense. But we're talking about Democrats. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Hey, Barry, it's Brian. Hey, John, I'm going to put you on hold. It'll be about 90 seconds. Hold on. Oh, my goodness. I can't find what I need. Okay, found what I needed. About 30 seconds, we'll be back. All right, we are back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. It's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. What do you have for us this morning?
Well, I wanted to talk about probate. That's one of the things everybody checks off when they fill out their questionnaires with us, that they want to avoid probate. And a lot of times they don't even know what it is. And probate is going to court. And this is something that would happen after your death, where your estate would go through this process that would verify the assets and your wishes and make sure everything gets handled properly. And the thing is, it's going to court just like going to court for a divorce, a traffic ticket, or any other kind of dispute. So you're dealing with hiring attorneys, which can be very expensive. You could be spending roughly up to 3% of the value of the estate on the cost of probate, or it could be billed hourly. There's different ways that can happen, but it could be very expensive. There are outside costs beyond attorney's fees that are involved. It's time-consuming. Probate doesn't happen overnight. It could take months or even years before the assets get transferred to your loved ones, and it's a public process, and it's just going to be very arduous. It's going to be a very difficult, time-consuming situation. Is that what we want to leave behind for our loved ones to go through that? Or do we want to set things up so that our loved ones don't have to deal with the probate, they don't have to deal with courts, they don't have to hire lawyers, they don't have to spend a bunch of money, they don't have to have a public process where all the families information is out there for the public to see, all the dirty laundry out there, and you don't have to leave a mess behind. And it's all about setting things up in advance. And the key way to do that, there are ways around doing it this way, but the best way is setting up what's called a revocable living trust. And not only will that help you avoid the court process of probate, but that can also help you avoid the court process of guardianship during your lifetime should you become incapacitated. So the right person can step in and take care of things for you at a time of incapacity, not somebody appointed by some judge who doesn't know you and may not be who you would have wanted. So for those reasons and many more, most people should set up their estate planning, set up their revocable living trust, and then come to one of our upcoming workshops or take advantage of one of our free in-office consultations so they can learn how to protect themselves and their family and avoid these messes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, give the Siegel Law Group a call, toll-free, 855-FLA-3782, 855-FLA-3782. Take advantage of that no-charge in-office consultation and online at SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we will talk later in the week.
All right, thank you, Brian.
All right, take care. All right, give him a call, guys. All right, let's go back to our phones. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brother Brian, IB.
Hey, IB, what's up?
This is about in Chicago. That was very hard to watch that conference yesterday with Mayor Johnson looking like a devil incarnated. Everything out of his mouth just is a lie. And we can just use the example of there are hundreds of thousands of guns that came in from red states. Okay, well, where are those guns going? How come you're not tracking it if you know where the guns are coming from? That is one of the most bold lies that he said yesterday.
Well, what's the Fatso governor's name again? I forgot his name. Tubbo? What's his name? The governor.
You can just call him the Penguin.
Yeah, the Penguin. That works. Penguin Pritzker. Yesterday he said they don't want Trump to send in the feds. They want money. Of course they do. Like Chicago's lacking money. Give me a break. They got plenty of money.
Johnson says, instead of the gangbangers being off the street, we need more programs. We need housing. How does housing compare with violence? Anyway, if he thinks that the guns are coming from red states, then how come you don't have, your troopers set up roadblocks and search vehicles? Well, and there's more guns than gangs? It doesn't make sense. The number is absurd. That is one of the most proven lies right there.
Well, Chicago, a lot of the violence is, a lot of it's black on black gang activity, but there's a lot of these, the illegals, the Trinde, the MS-13ers and others, they have Hispanic gangs in Chicago too, that the Democrats have been bringing in forever and a day. So that it's, there's a...
So they're down to their two final things, okay? They know that there's no more money. They know that having the reserves coming in with everyone, they know that they're going to round up more illegals. That means those votes are going away. They're fighting that. And when all comes to nothing, they'll have the violence left. He damn well did threaten to be violent when Trump brings
the Democrats are so. I think I saw Ari Fleischer the other day. I saw him on television, and he said this pro-crime thing that this is the new culture of the Democrat Party, that they're pro-crime. It's like their party platform. They're not even they're not even hiding it that they're pro-criminal.
What he didn't realize is that Trump tricked him into asking for federal assistance without him really thinking about it. Even though Trump is going to do it, whether they like it or not, to protect any citizen, not people. They always say people, but they include illegals.
Yeah.
Trump is going to go there not because he can, but because he forced them to ask for government
help. That's true. I appreciate the call, IB. Yeah, I agree with all that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian. What's up?
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hi.
Well, basically, I called to basically double down on some positions I've talked about in the last couple of weeks. I still feel that we will see martial law in this country. I still feel that we will have judicial military tribunals. And I also will make this a little bit off topic today that Gaza will be Israel's Vietnam. These positions we have now, these problems I think are a lot bigger than we think. And the solution, I think, is going to lie in those strategies. I know it's not going to be popular in that, but we're going to have to do something along those lines. We witnessed judicial tyranny. Anytime Trump's to make a move, we got some district judge someplace in the 50 states trying to take over that he's the president. They are not. Mm-hmm. And this plan that I think Trump is going to execute is going to be much bigger and it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Well, what you said about Gaza with Israel's right. It's already their Vietnam. And even President Trump said they lost the war. They won the war, but lost the world. President Trump. They won the war and lost the world, is what Trump said.
Well, yesterday I think the Secretary of Defense said that this war is going to take 2 years plus for all the new reserves that are coming up. Are they getting sucked into this thing, and it's going to drain them? So. I was a little surprised to make that comment because he's already getting the people ready for an extended war, 2 years or more. Mm-hmm. Whoa-wee. And that's after a massive reserve pull-up that they've had. But here, I think, Brian, I think we're going to see this. I think we're going to see this coming in, and I think it may be the solution to the problems. We got these radicalized Democratic mayors and governors that are just out of their mind.
Here's the thing. I disagree with your theory in this country. See, listen. Mm-hmm. What's happened? Look at Bowser yesterday. Released an order telling the police to forever cooperate with the feds in D.C. Now that crime has been cleaned up. See, that's a big change. Okay. That's a big change.
Yes.
Yes. And what's going to happen is, these big mouth idiots and this scumbag mayor and this fatty governor who's a jerk, okay? Yeah. In Illinois, Trump is going to clean up the city. Now, I don't know if it's going to go as easy as D.C., okay? But he will clean it up. And the people of D.C., the solution to these things, it's not martial law, it's voting Republican. And we could very easily turn Illinois into at least a battleground state by just winning a few votes in Chicago, because Illinois is very Republican outside of Chicago, and when he rids Chicago of crime at a level that no one has ever dreamed, that's going to be a big game changer in Chicago. It's going to change. It could change the whole country.
I think that governor's name is Pritzker.
I know what his name is. I hate him. Okay. I hate him.
Yeah, I know.
I hate him. I mean, I don't hate very many people, but here he has a city of people that are being victimized by domestic terrorists, these criminals, and he doesn't care. No,
doesn't care. The amount of people that are killed on a weekend doesn't even faze him. Even when they ask him a question about it, doesn't even faze him. And has there ever been a weekend where people haven't been killed, especially young people in the city of Chicago?
Well, with the governor, you know what? I'll tell you what it is. The governor's a typical white liberal. He's a racist. Yeah. And to him, black people are not as human as white people. So he doesn't really care about poor black people getting killed. He doesn't care. He has no empathy. They're not human to him.
So they're basically just a statistic.
Yeah, they're not real people to him. They're not.
It's such a sad thing to say that these are human beings and they're part of the community and part of his people who he's looking.
And when have you seen a president not just do what Trump is doing, fighting crime and the war on drugs, like actually do? He's fighting the war on drugs and the war on crime for real for the first time, but he's going into these cities. These are not Republican constituencies. He's going into people that hate him. He tried to have a rally in the first campaign in Chicago. And they rose up in the street. They had to cancel it. Remember, and these are not his constituents, but they're human beings and they're Americans. And he's doing what's right.
Yeah. One other quick comment: this strike on Venezuela. There's going to be a little bit bigger, I think, than people think, and it will involve Brazil too. This is a major tactical move, I think, in South America.
Oh, you're talking about the military strike on the drug boat?
Yeah, he's got some real firepower down there. I mean, whoa. And they've been building it up, and everybody thought, like all these guys, these South Americans, they thought he wouldn't do anything. Oh, he's going to do something. He already did.
I wonder if the cartel guys are like leaving their compounds. Are they terrified? Because, I mean, I couldn't believe. When I heard that they took out a drug boat or something, I thought maybe they took a cargo ship or something. I was not expecting like a drone strike or whatever that was on really a small craft. I was not, and try to find some guys today to bring drugs by boat into the U.S.
Well, is that going to dry up the drug trafficking? I think that was a Tomahawk missile from a submarine.
Did they say that? Did they say that?
I think so. I think I heard that, but it was very early in the
really
reporting.
A Tomahawk. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Our whole lives we've heard the war on drugs and the war on crime. It's never happened and now it's really happening. We've got the Army involved in both, and they should be. Why have we sent rockets and troops into all these countries around the world when we're under attack?
Yeah. Yes, we are. We are absolutely under attack. Mm-hmm. But we finally have a leader in the White House who's doing something about it.
All right. Hey, listen, I'm going to run. I got to run, but I'm late for the break. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Yesterday, my wife was admiring my weight loss. I was changing shirts, and she said, Brian, your stomach's completely flat now. She said you were getting a belly before. Now your stomach's completely flat. You have lost so much weight. And she told me that I have the stomach that I had when we got married 29 years ago. Thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Give them a call. And, my results are typical. Typical. It's awesome. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. We'll be right back. We'll be back shortly, guys. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's JJ from Mass.
Hey, JJ. What's up?
Well, I was, I want to talk about this the boat in Venezuela, but the recent topic of the, this mayor, Let's Go Brandon, of Chicago, and Governor Pringles of Illinois is... it's just the height of hypocrisy listening to those two morons talk. When one of them, I think it was the mayor, said they have to protect humanity from Trump, and I'm just the gall, the height of hypocrisy here is you just 50 friggin' plus people got shot, people die. I mean, they call it Chirac for a reason. In fact, I think you'd probably be safer.
Chirac. They called it Chirac. I remember, Chirac, yeah. Now, I don't know what became of this, But years ago, Spike Lee was making a movie about the violence in Chicago, and it was called Chirac. And before the movie came out, the local leaders, mostly like ministers and local activists, somehow they got Spike Lee in a meeting, and they wanted him to change the name of the movie from Chirac to cover. I don't know what became of that, but it's been that's what it's been all these years, and everybody knows it. Now hold on a second here. Everybody knows it. All right, go ahead. Apologize.
Yeah, answering. That's okay. Answering calls. Busy.
The phones are ringing off the hook today, but I'll tell you what.
Well,
my phones not only are ringing off the hook, I've not heard from any of the regular Epstein-obsessed callers today. None of them have called in with all these documents that were released yesterday. Not one of them.
You know why that is, Brian?
Because
I'll tell you why that is. Because they're not obsessed over Epstein. They're obsessed over you. It's just you tell them they can't do something, they want to do it. You tell them they can't do something, they don't want to do it. They're like they've got terrible two syndrome. It's pretty damn funny. But anyway, getting serious here, the boat. That was, to me, that was a needle. That was, basically hitting a needle with a needle in the middle of the ocean. And it was a FAFO moment, specifically a message to Maduro, but the cartels as well. It is sort of, this is not your grandfather's war on drugs. This is Big Daddy's home. It's Operation Hammer, you're nailed. It is an actual literal war on drugs. And I'll tell you this, I know you don't think kindly of this Monkey Works guy, but I watch him from time to time for military stuff because he's a former Special Operations Forward Air Commander, and he knows the planes, and he does.
I don't have any problem with that person. I don't know who they are. I've never heard of them.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's pretty much what I figured. He's a pretty credible guy when it comes to that, but he's got some crazy opinions, just like a lot of people do. But he was talking about all the air traffic into Curacao. You guys know where Curacao is.
I've been to Curacao, yeah.
Yeah, the C-17s have been flying in there. A very heavy traffic there, and also heavy traffic into Trinidad and Tobago. And if you know that geography, that basically that's west and east of Venezuela. Plus, we've got the ships. We've got the expeditionary force down there. This is
I remember you can see Venezuela on a clear day from Aruba.
Yeah, it's very, very close. The Curacao, a lot of the fishermen from Venezuela come into Curacao to sell fish.
there's a military buildup going on, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's basically signals. This guy puts all the signals together, and it makes a lot more traffic into Curacao and Trinidad and Tobago. Plus, we've got I don't think the Marines they didn't go all the way down there and get all dressed up for nothing. So something could kick off. But another interesting point, one of the callers, he calls all the time, very good caller, just recently. He talked about the military tribunals. I will tell you this, that the JAG officers a lot of JAG officers have been activated in the D.C. area. I mean, there's just so many.
Well, yes, Pete Hegseth has authorized them to be immigration judges, and there's a lot of them. That came out yesterday.
That could be the case.
To speed up the immigration courts. But no, listen, the two actions we're seeing with the crime and with the drug trafficking. The reason he's using the military is because President Trump is literally war on drugs, war on crime is real now. And these are two things plaguing our country, and he wants to rid the country of it.
I think in the past it was. I think Nancy Reagan meant very well, but I think it was more back then. It was more of a political, soft brush than it was the hard hammer. And Trump is like he's like Thor. He's the god of truth and justice and the hammer. When it comes to people that are, you can't, how can anybody in Chicago, these politicians blow my mind. It's like they don't think we don't know that it's like a war zone and people get shot and killed there every friggin' weekend. And you call that, they've normalized anarchy, chaos, lawlessness.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
with the drugs, getting back to the drug, President Trump shutting down the border has almost dried up the entire drug industry. Now blowing that ship out of the water. When he said yesterday, the press didn't even know about it. He says, when this is over, you'll get the details. We just took out a drug boat. And I was so excited. When I saw the video, I was like, it's about freaking time. we got a president who's doing something. Hey, I appreciate the call, man. Great points. I agree with all of it. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Bob from Jupiter.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, to your point about Illinois, Trump won just about the whole state except for Cook County, that's to Chicago, and he lost it. He lost it by about 70-30.
Mm-hmm.
He lost the state by about 10 points.
That's right.
And I'm sure Cook County was rigged. But in saying that, if he could only lose in the next election, if the Republicans could lose, say 55-45, that pretty much will flip the state. Because the population is all in Cook County.
Well, if you remember, if you go back to 1960, Nixon, Kennedy, Nixon won the entire state of Illinois, except when they found those ballots in the church basement in Cook County in Chicago. So Illinois is much more Republican than is commonly believed. It really is.
It's entirely red, except basically for Cook County. And what was the vote early and vote often? Remember that?
Yes.
That was Chicago. So
Yeah.
that's it's wrought with fraud, and it will probably be if it can change just a little bit, they'll take the fraud out of there. Right now, with a 70-30, it's mayhem.
But see, this gets back to it. When you go to people that work in the local levels of the bureaucracy.
Thank you.
Are you in the drive-thru? Oh, he had to hang up. He's in the drive-thru doing something, he's at work. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'll finish my answer to him, just to you guys. But when you go to the bureaucracy that runs everything at the local level, okay, I'm not talking about the mayor. I'm talking about people that work in the local offices. A lot of them are militant black activists. And they feel totally justified in doing whatever they got to do to maintain power, to make up for these past injustices. So you're dealing with really psychotic people that run government at the local level. That's not the citizenry that are going to be very happy with President Trump when he cleans up the city. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
When you go to the bureaucracy... Nicole Ortiz?
Yeah, turn down the volume in the background.
I sure did.
Okay, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Nikki, West Palm Beach.
Hey, Nikki, what's up?
Okay, so I am originally from Chicago, and I moved here about 7 years ago, so I can definitely say they call it Chirac for a reason. It's definitely, I'm glad that Trump's going there. I'm glad that he's doing his thing over there. You even have, like, local rappers that continuously bring down cities inside of, neighborhoods inside of the city, and it's just like a generational curse. It just keeps happening over and over and over, so it's a good thing that he's going there, cleaning up the city. I left there literally July 3rd. I had my kids June 19th, and I have 3 kids, and I would not raise my kids there because it was not the same effect of when I grew up there. It wasn't safe at all. So I'm glad he's going back there. I still have family.
Yeah.
Would
No.
you say Yeah.
Yeah, and what Trump is doing, when he rids Chicago of the violent crime, the people in that city they're going to love him for it. They're going to love him for it.
No, for sure. Everybody. Yeah, everybody. There's a mix of people that are happy and pissed off about it, but at the end of the day, you can walk down Michigan Avenue without being robbed. You don't have to worry about being inside of a store and there's going to be a flash mob. You can be in regular neighborhoods. My mom and my dad are still there, and they live in a fire department and police neighborhood, and that's not even safe, especially when it became a sanctuary city.
Yep. Well, listen, I appreciate the
so
call.
More power to him.
All right, take care. All right, former Chicago resident for Trump. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your name? You're on the air.
Hey, Brian, Mike at North Lauderdale. How are you?
Hey, Mike, what's up?
What's happening with the radio? I can't seem to
All
get
right, we're switching signals in Broward. So if you're in North Lauderdale, try to switch over to 95.3.
Okay, cool.
And we'll have a new Broward signal. They tell me soon. I don't know what that means, but soon. And when we do, I'll announce it.
Yeah, I turned it on and I'm like hearing this Caribbean music. I'm like, what?
No, that's not me.
I said we're really being being overtaken now. I said.
No, I haven't joined the reggae band yet. All right, appreciate the call. Appreciate the call. And by the way, you guys, I appreciate all of you that call. when you have a hard time picking up the show somehow, I do appreciate that. It's a great when they don't call asking, that's when you got to worry, is what I always tell people. You know, I was talking about coastal weight loss, how my wife was telling me that my stomach, yesterday, I was changing shirts, and what had happened was a listener had sent me some shirts, and so a listener had sent me some cool Star Wars shirts, and when I got home yesterday for the radio station, I was trying them on and showing my wife, you know, and by the way, the shirts that the listeners send are smaller shirts because they know I lost all this weight. They're smaller than I would normally be getting in the mail from listeners. And when I was changing shirts, I was on the profile to my wife you know, the window in our bedroom, and it's the middle of the day, and she says, "Brian, your stomach is so flat now. You have lost so much weight. Your stomach is so flat, just like when we got married." And I was like, "Hey, yeah, coastal weight loss secret." And I was telling you guys yesterday, after Friday's show, my wife took my blood pressure because I had a headache. And what had happened is my stepfather, who passed away years ago, he'd had a stroke, and he had these headaches before his stroke. And my wife took his blood pressure, it was through the roof, and we knew a stroke was coming because, you know, unfortunately we didn't catch it in time. But I got a headache, and I had a bad headache, and my wife said, "I'm going to take your blood pressure." And I said, "I just got off the air, and this was Friday. It's Open Phone Friday, and you know, and anytime I get off the air, my blood pressure is through the roof for years." And my wife took my blood pressure when I got off the air Friday. I didn't want to do it, and I said, not only am I worked up with these people on the phones, but I'm nervous about getting the result now. It's going to be through the roof. Not only when she took my blood pressure was it normal, it was lower than my normal. I have the best blood pressure I've had in maybe 15, 20 years now. Right after I got off the air. Right after. Coastal weight loss secret. It's dropping all this weight. It's absolutely amazing. Give them a call. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlosssecret.com. We'll be right back. Hey there. Hold on. Less than a minute, we'll be back. Oh, guys, don't forget, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to continue the show for, another half hour, okay? The after show. I did the early show. I'm going to do the after show, so don't go anywhere, okay? The show will continue after I sign off the radio at 9, so hang around, okay? And you're welcome to call in as well then. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. And it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. How the metals look today, William Youngerman?
Metals continue very strong, Brian, at hitting new record highs almost every single day now. Yesterday, we saw gold trade in a range of $34.72 all the way up to $3,541 an ounce, and closing out the day up $58 yesterday at $3,531.70 the ounce. Silver was up, or actually down 35 cents after hitting $41 on the high yesterday. Silver closed at $40.81 the ounce. Platinum gained $4 at $1,404. It did get up to $1,433. And palladium was up $1 at $11.38. Overnight, we saw gold trading in a range of $3,524 all the way up to $3,550. And right now, we're at $3,546 the ounce. It's up another $14.30. Silver up 9 cents at $40.90 the ounce. Platinum up $1 at $1,405, and palladium up $12 at $1,150. So gold heading for that $3,700 we've been talking about, and right now, as I said, about $3,546 the ounce.
Wow. What's the new record high for gold now?
Well, you're pretty much looking at it right around $3,550 is the new record high.
$3,550. That's crazy. $3,550 for an ounce of gold. I'm starting to wonder, how much gold can you hold in your hand now comfortably? How much money worth? I don't know at this number. I have to figure that one out. But this is amazing. Listen, William Youngman opens up at 10 a.m. You can stop in. And remember, with William Youngman, all the metals are available for immediate delivery. And if you've got anything made of the metals at home, William Youngman, this has got to be a great time to turn that old ugly jewelry and stuff into money, into cash money.
Indeed, that is.
Yeah, with these prices. So he buys as well as sells the metals. His address is 150 East Palmetto Park Road, which is immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road, on the first floor of the Bank of America building. You can give him a call, toll-free, 800-327-5010. 800-327-5010. And find both his phone number and address online at williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. Oh, yeah. Okay, if you're on hold, hang in there. I saw a story on Fox yesterday that really surprised me, even caught me off guard a little bit, because it was a local story in Boca about this World War II memorial park that the city has made some real estate deal with. And I was a little surprised by this because the mayor of Boca Raton, I believe, is a Republican. And this really surprised me. I'd not known about this story, and I'm very familiar with the park. And I saw this on Fox. My daughter, when she was a little girl, like 6, played softball in this park. The Boca City Council meeting erupted over developers' plans to bulldoze a World War II Veterans Memorial Park in Boca. This is in the Daily Mail. Did any of you see this on Fox? And this is a local story, and we have a lot of listeners in Boca, and I was not aware of this until I saw it on Fox yesterday. They have a website of the local activists that are involved in this. It's saveboca.org, saveboca.org. Let me read from the Daily Mail. Residents of a coastal Florida city, that's Boca, are furious over plans to erase a decades-old park honoring World War II veterans to make way for a sprawling new government campus. And, I'll tell you, people, how is this happening? And I'll tell you how it's happening. The World War II veterans are gone now for the most part. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, and he died in the 80s. There just aren't that many World War II veterans anymore. And I saw in the news recently the last Pearl Harbor survivor pass away. Is that what I mean? So those of us that have a connection to the Second World War through grandparents are, the grandparents have been gone for a long time. And the children of World War II veterans, well, heck, have you seen how old the Vietnam veterans are these days? Holy smokes, they're in their 70s and even 80 Vietnam veterans now. Memorial Park in Boca, they write here, is a cherished 17-acre public haven in the affluent suburb of Boca Raton that has served as a community cornerstone for decades. In fact, it's not far. It's right down the street from William Youngerman's. The multi-recreational facility was dedicated to World War II veterans back in the 1940s and has stood as a physical reminder of the city's origins and wartime legacy sense. And I did tweet this. SaveBoca.org is the website. Check it out. And I'm going to look into this. And I might personally, not that it matters that much, get involved in it a little bit because, Boca has a big World War II history. Unfortunately, they've destroyed this. But if you go over to the Florida Atlantic University campus, where they have the Palm Beach Community College campus is there, where they have the football stadium now at FAU. When I went to FAU years ago, that's where I went to college, was Florida Atlantic University at the Boca. I took some classes at their Davie campus, but most of them I took in Boca. And there were these parking lots that were very narrow, that were like a mile long. And man, if you didn't get a good parking spot, you had to walk like a mile to get to campus. Those parking lots used to, during the Second World War, were runways. And they turned these runways into parking lots at the FAU campus. And now they're gone, the stadium and expansion. And I remember at FAU, there was there was a World War II veteran that died, and he was in the unit that went to the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's house, and he stole a bunch of stuff and brought it back home and donated it. And FAU have in their collection a whole bunch of things from Hitler's home, personal items of Hitler, that was donated by a World War II veteran. And we have there was a World War II Nazi spy ring that was operating off of A1A in Boca during the Second World War, communicating from Boca Raton between, I can't remember the exact location, but it's between Hillsborough Boulevard is Broward, but that's north of Broward. Between Hillsborough and Palmetto Park Road, if I believe, and Boca Raton on A1A, there was a Nazi spy center there that was communicating with German U-boats. On top of the many veterans that have lived here over the years, Boca Raton has a massive World War II legacy that people forget about, and this memorial park that was dedicated in the 1940s, whatever, to World War II veterans for a lot of good reason, not just because a bunch of old timers from the war retired here. Boca itself has a strong World War II history. In fact, that Nazi location, I'm sure there's some type of plaque or something that marks where the Nazis did that thing. This is really a disgrace. And I saw the story on Fox yesterday, and then I went online to watch the whole meeting. The disrespect that the Boca Raton City Commission showed with their snarkiness and condescension towards the Boca residents that are trying to preserve this World War II memorial park was disgusting. I just learned about this yesterday, so I don't know too much about it other than Boca Raton has a very strong World War II legacy, as does our whole country. And for them to take down this World War II memorial park to these developers is disgusting, and it's outrageous. And, anyway, let's see here. What time is it? Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi there. The masked lady from Boca?
Oh, yes.
Louise.
Yes, Louise. Yes.
I just heard that. We were at that meeting in Boca.
Mm-hmm.
I am so disappointed. It's not only the memorial park. They want to take all city-owned property and build on it. I am so disappointed in him. People lashed into him. You wouldn't believe it. He is a Republican, and I voted for him.
Well, I got to tell you, I was so excited that we have a Republican mayor in Boca Raton. I never thought it would have been possible. And there's been a lot of development that's good. I mean, in Boca, but this World War II Memorial Park, to take that down and trash it like they're doing is disgusting. And I did not like the attitude that the city commissioner and the mayor had towards these local activists trying to save the park. They were nasty.
Oh, we got a big turnout.
Yeah.
The meeting lasted until probably 11 o'clock, from 6 o'clock. I don't know if DeSantis could do anything about this. He wants to take all city land. Not only that, they want to knock down City Hall, the recreational center. I mean, really, what's wrong with it?
Well, you know, local government, you know, all government is corrupt, okay, at every level. So local governments are just as bad as D.C. It's all about zoning and things. But listen, I got to run, but call me another day about it. We'll talk. I want to talk about Joe Thomas and annuities. You know, we talk a lot about all these great benefits of annuities. Your money's never at risk. You have that guaranteed income stream. The one annuity, there's a couple annuities that give you that bonus, that 10% bonus on day one. And here's one that just really, when I saw this one, when Joe Thomas shared this with me a couple months back, was exciting. The annuity that includes an income doubler for unexpected health events. So if you or your spouse, because the annuity is in both your names probably, right? You have an unexpected health event, you got that monthly income gets doubled. And health issues bankrupt families, don't they? They really do bankrupt families. And it's never cheap, and it gets very difficult. And this income doubling annuity is amazing. Give Joe Thomas a call. Take advantage of the no-charge consultation. Now, you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation no matter where you are in the United States. So if you're not local, you can take advantage of it by the phone. Do a phone call or a Zoom. If you're local, of course, the no-charge consultation you can do in person. Give Joe Thomas a call, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website, jupiterjoe.com. That's jupiterjoe.com. Well, Wednesday came and went, and tomorrow's Thursday already. Holy smokes, guys. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Holy smokes. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. And what happened to all those Epstein-obsessed people today? They're in hiding. See you tomorrow. Take care. All right, we're clear. Okay, guys, so I just want to let you know I'm continuing. And this is the third week. I've expanded the show to 4 hours, if you're just wondering. And make sure you're subscribed and you have the notification bell clicked, because I'm starting the show early, right? Today I started at 5. I usually start around 5:20, okay, between 5:20 and 5:30. And then I go until about 9:20 or 9:30. So I've expanded the show to 4 hours, and this is week 3 of doing it. And I've gotten great feedback to it. And also, don't forget, if you click that notification bell, I've also added an afternoon show. Now, Steve's not here today, but Steve's been hanging out with me for the extra on the end on the days he's been here. And you're welcome to call in still. The number's still the same, and it's in the chat. And the afternoon show, I've been taking live calls on that too, and doing that every afternoon. And it's been a few weeks now. So when I sign off the radio at 9, hang in there, okay? Because the show is still going. Now, I didn't get to this on the air today, and I wanted to. Mike Lindell got his phone back. Listen.
I got really quick breaking news for you, Vanessa.
I'll take it.
Just in. This just in. I just got word from my office in Minnesota. The FBI has now delivered my phone back after 3 years.
That's something.
Everybody, 3 years of nonsense. And you know what? You think I'm going to let them go and just go, oh, thank you for my phone back. No, we're going to dive into this because they took my livelihood, that phone, there's stuff in there. I had pictures of my grandkids when my dad passed away. I went and we'll see what's still in there. We're going to do, when I do get back to Minnesota, I'm going to do a show. The box, it's right there in the box, like it never left back in the day. But what they did to it, and what they did to take that for no reason. Now, I don't know what rights I have or whatever, but I remember, everybody, I brought it all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Okay, so, I mean, this is really frightening, because, from time to time, you'll hear me talk about what would the country have been like if Trump had not won re-election. And what what was happening was this. We were turning into a police state. Now, I know a lot of Democrats will say, we're in one now. Trump's sending the feds into Chicago. He just did it. No. Police are there to arrest people that do crimes. But what the Biden regime was doing was taking law-abiding people and declaring them enemies of the state. And what happened to Mike Lindell, for those that don't remember, he was in his local town in Minnesota in a drive-through, and the FBI raided him when he was in the drive-through and surrounded his car. So he had the restaurant on the driver's side, and then on the passenger side in the front and back, they surrounded him and they took his phone. And, today, especially when you're a business person, like Mike Lindell, but today everything's on your phone. And what it was a fishing expedition. They were looking for something to see if they could arrest him on something. Remember, or other MAGA people. It's like when they broke into Michael Cohen's office, they were looking for info on Trump. They found some things they locked him up for, and now he basically works for them now. But they took his phone, and they were, whether it was Mike Lindell in that raid of taking his phone, and it was a fishing expedition to see if they could find something on him, or maybe a communication with the president or an aide or something. That's what they were doing. It's like when Homeland Security under Biden was in those school board parking lots in Northern Virginia, taking down the license plate numbers of parents to find out who was there. They were right now, President Trump's going after these violent criminals. But what they were doing in President Trump's absence in those 4 years was they were afraid of MAGA. Okay, they were afraid of MAGA. There had never been, prior to President Trump, there had never been a truly successful, organized, conservative political operation and movement like the MAGA movement. There's been other things, the Tea Party, right? But that disappeared real quick because the Tea Party didn't have a leader. It had no leader or organization, so it dissolved. The Christian Coalition, but, we had a president, we had Pat Robertson and stuff, but we didn't really have a strong leader as the leader of the Republican Party. The Christian Coalition was, Republicans would placate them and tell them what they wanted to hear, but the Christian Coalition was an activist organization to the mainstream Republican establishment that they had to say the right things to, but they never really were. The MAGA movement, we actually had a leadership and an organization, and it was growing, and the political establishment of both parties were terrified of it. They're terrified of it. And because they can't beat it. So what they were working to do was criminalize it. And, it goes back to a lot of what I was talking about today on the show. Democrats, I was talking to a caller earlier on the show about the Democrats with gerrymandering. Democrats believe gerrymandering is okay to do. They don't think it's evil because Democrats believe gerrymandering makes right past racial injustices, that it's okay to set up these funny spaghetti congressional districts because blacks were cut out of the system for so long that doing this monkey business with gerrymandering is legitimate to make a past wrong right today. And you understand what I'm saying? And the Democrat Party believe, even though I'm not agreeing with this, I'm just telling you how they rationalize. Evil people rarely think of themselves as evil. Evil people think of themselves as good people. An example of that outside of Ted Bundy, all right, the serial killer. Remember, he was killing women all over the country, but he's famous because he was executed here in Florida when I was in high school. And Ted Bundy he talked for years, did interviews and all this stuff. He said, well, I never forced them in my car. They got in willingly. That's how he acted as if they wanted it or deserved it because they got into his car, even though we tricked them and would hit them over the head and handcuff them and stuff. Well, these Democrats, they don't think what they're doing's wrong. They don't think what they're doing's evil. They especially the Democrats, the few that are left, they believe that America is defined by a bunch of negative things. And they are correcting the negatives of the past by doing things that on the surface seem wrong, gerrymandering and stuff, but it may be wrong, but it's the right thing to do because it's undoing the sins of the past. I know that's crazy, but that's how the Democrats rationalize what it is. They don't say, oh, we're evil and we're doing this stuff. And the Democrats believe that President Trump and our great MAGA movement is hate. It's a loving movement, but they think it's a hateful movement. And they were doing things like they did to Mike Lindell and others. And what would have happened, and you see what happened with Mike Lindell. The only reason he got his phone back is because Kash Patel runs the FBI now. But that means that not only were they into his phone, they were into everyone's phone who was in his phone book, right? Which would include me because I've talked to Mike on that cell phone before the raid. So I guess that includes me. But I wonder if that phone's still hooked up. I don't know. Did he keep it active? If I called that number, would it ring? I don't know. But they were what they were going to do was outlaw the MAGA movement. They were going to get one of their radical leftist groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center or something and declare the MAGA movement a domestic hate group like the White Nationalist or something and outlaw it. And you saw this, keeping the J6ers in prison without their constitutional right to speedy trial, taking Mike Lindell's phone, doing all the other things they've done. And Mike Lindell getting his phone back is a great victory, and there's no publicity about it, although there should be, because it's an important thing. But just to explain to you how utterly insane the Democrats are, this story about this trans shooter in Minneapolis. Look at this. NBC apologizes for not using she to describe the female shooter. This is in Breitbart. This is crazy. NBC issued a correction Friday after having used male pronouns in its reporting to describe the trans shooter who killed 2 children and wounded 17 others during a mass at a Catholic school in Minneapolis on Wednesday. Who apologizes for language they use to describe a murdering monster who kills babies like this? Liberals, that's who, at NBC. Look at this. Here's the correction from Mediaite. And they put on it, correction. A previous version of this article used the wrong pronoun for the shooter. She used female pronouns. They're talking about the shooter. She used female pronouns. Breitbart reported the trans shooter changed his name from Robert to Robin at age 17, thereafter identifying as female. The trans shooter left behind a video in which he said, F those kids, and where's your effing God now? The article referenced that NBC previously referred to the trans shooter using male pronouns. To apologize to a dead mass shooter over the pronoun thing is such a perverted thing to do. I don't even know how hardly to describe such a thing. I really don't. That's how far gone the liberals are. But I'll tell you, there's a major correction going on in this country. Woke is done. There's very little of it left. And a lot of it is being self-corrected. You know, like the Cracker Barrel was another big wake-up call to companies that are dropping this. You know, and if you notice, there's other companies that are doing things to reject woke, right? You know, Kohl's. You know, Kohl's came out and apologized for some of the positions they took in the last 4 years. They mean they're woke crap. Bed Bath & Beyond that rejected Mike Lindell and MyPillow and went woke. They're moving their company out of California, they say, because of the wokeness and the crime and everything else. They're trying to get their company back because they see how wokeness destroyed their company. Disney the other day released a statement. They're gonna try to have some movies that'll attract a male audience that they've been rejecting, right? You know, this thing with Sydney Sweeney, this advertisement campaign a few weeks ago, was another big wake-up call, you know. And the anger towards the Sydney Sweeney ad is because the left had decided that white girls weren't going to be doing ads anymore on television. It was to be, you know, or you know, it was going to be either an overweight girl or a black girl or a Hispanic girl, but anybody but a white thin actress was going to be doing commercials now. There's been a return to what I would call it a return to normalcy, away from this wackadoodle wokeness that's infected the country, and it's happening all over the place. We're seeing it, and it's absolutely amazing, and we're going to see more and more of it as time goes on. And you know, today's show was very interesting. Hold on, let me answer this message that somebody just sent me. Hold on a second here. Okay. Today's show was really interesting show, and I'll tell you what I mean. This Epstein release yesterday, I've been on the air almost 4 hours. How many days have you heard these weirdo Epstein people call me, obsessed with the issue? Not one of them called today. Not one of them. There's been a 32,000-page document drop. There is that press conference today. I'm going to cover that press conference. Whatever happens in that press conference, I'll cover it and I'll talk about it. But why didn't I hear from these Epstein-obsessed people today? Now, now people did call in talking about it, but these creepy, you're avoiding the issue. Oh, this thing you're talking about today that's happening right now is a distraction from Epstein. Why didn't I hear from them today? Well, for a couple reasons. One of them is that there was nothing in the files, of course. That's a big part of it, right? That's a big part of it. But the other thing is there's nothing about Trump that came out in those 33,000 pages today. And these Epstein-obsessed callers that I've been hearing from for years, but in the last few weeks and months, it's been amped up a little bit because, Pam Bondi had been releasing things and things have happened. You know the news that's been going on in the last 6 months. I've been in, and they thought that there was something they could do to hurt Trump with. And with almost 33,000 pages being released yesterday, millions of people are reviewing them. And a lot of the people that are reviewing them, I promise you, they went through those documents using computers to find keywords and everything else. Millions of people have been reading through those. There's not one thing in there about Trump. And these people that I've been hearing from about Epstein aren't really, some of them are weirdos that are obsessed with those perversions. But a lot of them are the seminar callers that are trying to get some negative narrative going about Trump. And since there's nothing in these files, these 33,000 pages almost that came out yesterday about Trump, there's nothing for them to say. They're fake. They're fake people and fake callers that are put up by some leftist organization. Right? I mean, they're seminar callers, as Rush used to call them. That's exactly what they are. Make no mistake about it. And today was proof of that. And, I put out a call for anyone to call in about Epstein. None of those weirdos called in. None of them. And I'm a little surprised that I didn't hear from some of them, because some of them are really weird and creepy, but not even the most bizarre one called in today, because there's nothing there about Trump. They don't care about Epstein. They don't care about the Epstein victims. They just need to have something to trash Trump with. It was like this health thing that they were trying to get going over the weekend, because Trump didn't do a press conference for a couple days. And, Trump had a great answer yesterday. He said, Biden doesn't do a press conference in 6 months. They're no problem. I don't do one for 2 days. They're freaking out. The left, see, they're all about a lot of stupid things. But one of the things that the Democrats are always trying to do is get a false narrative going about something, to get some propaganda out there. And they really don't have the ability to get a false narrative off the ground and get people talking about it anymore. They used to, right? They used to. But this Trump health thing, by the way, I'm sorry, some of you have been calling in. I wasn't paying attention to the phone. If you want to call in, you're welcome to. The number's pinned in the live chat. Sorry I didn't get to the calls there. But all they're trying to do is get a negative narrative going about Trump. And this health thing, I was shocked. I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday morning. There were 3 trending hashtags about it, and the main trend on X for everybody. I'm like, are you kidding me? Give me a freaking break. And then I get a call. Oh, I want to talk about Trump's health. No, there's no problem with Trump's health. They're all, and when they started doing that, it's almost like they knew there was nothing in these Epstein files, so they were trying to move on to the next false narrative, and they have failed each and every time. Now, I just remind you guys a couple things. One, this is week 3 of my expanding the program to 4 hours. So I start about 30 or 40 minutes early before the radio show, and then I go 20 or 30 minutes after the show ends, like I've been doing now. So make sure when I sign off at 9 on the radio, hang in there, and make sure you're subscribed and you got the notification bell clicked. You'll get the notification when I go live. The other thing is my podcast, the Brian Craig Show podcast, which is on all podcast platforms. I've been carrying live in the afternoons here on my YouTube channel. So I do the podcast live on YouTube, and then I upload it to all the podcast platforms. But if you click the notification bell, you'll get the notification when I go live on YouTube in the afternoons for the podcast, and you can catch it live and call in. Now, if you'd like to support my content, everything I do, podcast, the YouTube channel and everything, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description to my Patreon page. If you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes, as well as access to a lot of exclusive content that my wife and I post that we post nowhere else except on my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. That's patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. There's also a link in the description. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you this afternoon on the podcast. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.